All right, welcome folks. It is the 14th of April, 2022. This is the new student orientation for cohort 14 for the Las Vegas PMI campus PTA program. So that you're all here, I officially welcome you into the program. We are looking forward to you guys getting on campus and actually getting started with us, but at least this gets you kind of the overview of what's going to go on, kind of what's going to go from here forward, and then a basic overview of how the process is going to go. There'll be time for questions in it. If there's something that pops up in your head and you're like, oh, I want to ask that question right now, if you type into the chat, it'll save there and we can go back and answer it as we see it. If you have a question and you're like, I have this question, if I ask you, I'll say, hold it to the end or something like that. It's not that I don't want to answer your question. I'm just kind of making sure that it kind of holds at the appropriate time. So let me bring up my screen here real quick. And share screen. Share the PowerPoint. All right, so I'm gonna bring up my chat window so that if anyone says anything, I can see it. Can everyone see the PowerPoint there as it is? I assume somebody give me a thumbs up. All right, I got some thumbs up. Good, that's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna move this so it doesn't get in the recording. So this is the new student orientation. Like I said, welcome. You guys are officially our 14th cohort in the program. We'll tell you a little bit about all of the faculty as we go through it and kind of where we all came into the system and everything like that. All of us have a pretty good wealth of systems. You're entering a program that has been around now for 14 cohorts. So I would like to think that we know what we're doing at this point. We've been around for quite a while. We've built quite a name within the industry in Las Vegas. Our clinical sites love us. Thank to Dr. Avruskin and all the students that go out there. So we'll just kind of talk through it as we go through. This is the rough agenda. We'll go for about 4 hours. It probably, we usually finish a little early, but I'm not going to promise that. But about 4 hours is what we'll go. We got everyone signed in. We'll go through the introduction to the faculty and kind of work down through the agenda as we go through. We're going to cover all the basics of what is needed as a new student. And then obviously, if there's something that comes up after that, you obviously can contact, Dr. Avruskin or myself in the future if there's something that pops in your head after the meeting and stuff like that as well. We are also going to post this on YouTube and send you guys all the link. That way, if you want to rewatch it, or if there's something you're like, oh, what did he say about this? Or what did she say about that? That you can go back and rewatch it again and see what we're talking about on there. So let's start with the faculty. So since I mentioned her first as our clinical director, I'm going to let Dr. Avruskin kind of be the first person to speak. I'm going to pin her and move her to the line and let her talk a little bit, introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Andrea Avruskin, and I've been with the program for 8 years, starting my ninth year in September or last September. Been a long time. I'm a physical therapist and athletic trainer as well, and I got my original PT degree, which was a master's at USC, and then did my doctorate at Creighton University. And my specialty is working with high-level performers in the theater and elite athletes. And so I'm very orthopedic focused in my skills and in my knowledge. And I do try to pass that along to you in class as much as possible. And also, I pretty much know almost everyone in every clinic in town. So we have a good network of consistent clinical instructors that take our students for their externships. And I'm constantly meeting new people and going out to new clinics and getting new contracts. And I really enjoy that part of getting out into the community and spreading the word. And almost every clinic is very excited to have PIMA students because the first 13 cohorts have created a very good reputation for us and for the skills that we teach. And so we're all excited to have you in the program and to start you on this path. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Avruskin. Now let me replace your pin with Dr. Sokel real quick. And we'll let Dr. Sokal introduce herself as one of our lead instructors here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dr. Jerry-Ann Sokal, and I have a doctorate in physical therapy, a master's in education, as well as a Bachelor of Science degree. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I have 20 plus years of clinical experience, starting off at the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. I've also worked in industrial rehab at Ford Motor and Continental Airlines. I've also worked at Cirque du Soleil here in Las Vegas. So I'm pretty much a generalist. I've worked a lot with geriatrics as well in long-term care. That was sort of my passion during my teaching career. And I look forward to seeing you all on the first day, April 27th at 1 o'clock for our intro to PT class. So welcome. And I look forward to meeting all of you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for going through that. We also have two instructors that couldn't be here for this. So you'll get to meet those when you, obviously, one of them the second day that you're there, the other one, actually, probably both of them the first or second day that you're there. We have Dr. Sunshine Arata, who is a local clinician in the area who is coming in to help us with lab assisting. She is a phenomenal PT and DPT, so she'll be coming in. She's also a licensed athletic trainer, so she'll be coming in as well to help us with our lab assisting. Let me replace myself. How about that? Place pin there. And then we also have our anatomy instructor, Corey Mallett, who is PT as well. Her primary job is anatomy in our campus. She'll see you for both anatomy 1 and anatomy 2. And then, of course, that just leaves me. I am Keith McKeever. I'm the lone PTA on our program, so I know what you guys are going to be doing, actually. Not that they don't, but I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt a couple times. I am also serving temporarily as our interim program director, as we are currently in the process of searching and hiring a new program director. So I will be the one that will handle any student concerns, anything like that. Not that the faculty can as well, but I'll be your main point of contact for most of that stuff. And I'll be the point of contact with main campus and all of the nuances there. I've been a PTA since 2007. So that, I don't know, that was a long time ago, I think, at this point. Doesn't feel like it, but it was a long time ago. I graduated from Penn State University with my associates in physical therapy. I also have my associates and bachelor's in psychology. I have 2 different psychology bachelors. And then I also have a few degrees in computer science, which was my original world before I came into PT. I've served as a IT administrator for most of my life. I started in IT in like 1992, so before some of you were born. And worked in IT up until the time I decided that I really wanted to get into a different field. More than likely, if any of you guys are video gamers, you've probably played at least one game I've worked on at some point in the past, because that's been my kind of passion over the past couple years on the side as gaming. I recently was serving as the Crucible developer for Bungie until they hired on somebody to replace me full time. So I do a little bit of everything. And like I said, definitely now I'll be doing a little bit of everything between instructing and kind of handling the program director responsibilities. That's basically it for me. I'm not that interesting, I promise. So at this time, what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to kind of go down the list that I have it on the screen here. I'm just going to ask you guys to give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself, right? But historically, you just heard me. I'm horrible at even talking about myself because why do you want to promote yourself? Kind of sounds like you're braggadocious, right? But so we're going to make it easy. All I want you to do is tell me where you're from. You know, if you've moved to Las Vegas, if you're born here, bred here, lived here for your whole life, tell us that. If you've lived somewhere else and you moved here, great, tell us that as well. Tell us something interesting about yourself. Like I said, I do game programming, so I consider that interesting. Whether you do or not, that's up to you. And then tell us why you chose to be a PTA. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list. And first on my list, it looks like is Aaron Mercado. If you could kind of give us an idea of, you know, who you are, why you decided this stuff. So you have the permission to unmute yourself here.
Thank you for giving me the time. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day. Well, I'm from California, East Bay area. Something interesting about me, I like to watch thriller movies. That type of stuff, I like to watch. It's pretty cool. Why I chose to become a PTA. I currently work in the field of therapy. So I work at a hospital where I work with PTs, OTs, and speech therapists. And becoming a PTA would help me in, creating a kind of like a stepping stone so I can figure out what I want to do as far as the type of people that I want to be able to treat. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. I just muted myself. That was brilliant of me. I was actually trying to unpin myself so that when you talk, you come up. There we go. And looks like next on my list is Adrian. And I apologize if I butcher your name. I'm still learning your name. So please forgive me if I butcher your name. So Adrian, give us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Adrian. Is this working?
You got
Is
it.
it working? Yes. Okay. You pronounce my last name Kitavis, like a key. I'm originally born in the Philippines, moved to LA when I was 5, and then came to Vegas around middle school. Something interesting about myself, I can say the ABC backwards. I went to school at UNLV for business. Found out that I wasn't really passionate about it. Started working at a chiropractor office, and the doctor at the office inspired me to do physical therapy. So I'm also using this as a stepping stone to get to where I want to be eventually. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Adrian. It looks like next we have Amy Mathis. I will unmute you, or if you want to unmute yourself and just tell us a little bit about it. If you know how to do that, I'll send you a link to unmute yourself.
Gotcha.
There we are.
Sorry. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I have a bachelor's of fine art from Arkansas State University. When I got Guillain-Barré, my physical therapist helped me work my way out of paralysis, and OT helped me with speech and everything. And that is what spurred my interest. And I began working in the neurostroke unit at Sunrise, and now want to go into PTA and kind of give it back.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. We'll look forward to hearing some of those stories because I enjoy working in the stroke unit, so I'll enjoy hearing that as well. Next up, it looks like we've got Courtney Moffett. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and see if I said your name right and everything like that. I'll ask you to unmute as well. There you are.
Hello. Said my name's Courtney Moffett. You pronounced it perfectly. Originally from Corona, California. I moved out here to Vegas about a year ago, so I'm still fairly new to the area. But the biggest thing that pushed me to become a PTA is back in California, I have my associate's degree in kinesiology, and I've always been around sports, played a little bit of pro basketball, but I was always in the training room, and I always had really bad ankles, so I was always in the training room, trying to rehab, recover, things like that, and body work just interests me. And even in my job right now, I work at a place called Stretch Zone, and all we do is literally stretch people in a type of way. It's almost like physical therapy, just not as in depth in a way. So things like that, it made me realize this is something I really want to get into. So this is why I decided to join the program.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll go ahead and we'll get down the list. Oh, Dr. Selka. Oh, wait, no, you already went, Dr. Selka. You don't have to do it. Looks like next on our list is Diana. I don't have a last name, so I'm still learning your name. So I'll have you go ahead and introduce yourself then.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my name's Diana Alvarez. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. Something interesting about me is that I love to travel. I'm actually in Europe right now, so my Wi-Fi may be on and off. Sorry about that, guys. I also love being outdoors. Something that inspired me to become a PTA is I do work in the healthcare. So I just meet a lot of people, and like from my experience and previous experience, I just want to be like changing the world and help people grow and be better versions of themselves.
Awesome. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Diana. Next up, it looks like we got Jean. Jean, you'll be next up to kind of give us a little bit of rundown about yourself.
All right, hello, my name is Jean Aguila. I was born and raised here in Las Vegas, Nevada. something interesting about me is I just like to play basketball and video games for my side hobbies. And the reason why I chose to become a PTA was because I always wanted to be in the medical field. During high school, I was in like this dental program and I didn't really like it. So I looked towards like my interests, and I like to exercise and like help people a lot. So that's why I chose to become a PTA.
Awesome. Thanks for that there. All right. So the next up would be Ivan. You're next up to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Ivan Mayer. I was born in the Philippines, but I came here when I was about 10 years old. But I've been in Vegas ever since then. Something interesting about me is I served in the military for about 6 years. Why I chose PTA is because I've always been interested in the medical field, and I'm a very active person, and I thought PTA would be like the perfect fit for me. So thank you.
Guys. Great. Thanks, Ivan. Looks up next is Jasmine.
Hello.
Hello, we
I'm
can hear you.
Jasmine Leon. Yeah, I'm Jasmine Leon, and I was born in Downey, California. I moved here when I was 9, and I was always active as well. Like that's one of my favorite hobbies, like just looking for something new to do. I like to draw and paint as well. And that's kind of what led me into PTA, like because I was in soccer, and it led me to like look into things that had to do with sports. And then along the way, my grandma went through something, and looking into what could be a career in sports kind of led me to realize that PT was something that she could have benefited from. And so that kind of like all tied it together, like made me like for sure realize this is what I wanted to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that there. So after Jasmine, it looks like next up is Joshua.
Hi, Joshua Colon, just in case you're wondering how you pronounce that. I'm from Puerto Rico. I moved to Vegas because I served in the Air Force. I got an assignment to Las Vegas about 11 years ago, 11 and some change. I retired from the Air Force in 2019. I am married, going on 12 years. I got 3 girls, and I've had a lot of injuries throughout my career, back and neck and shoulder and knee, all kinds, you think about it. So PTAs have played a big role into that and how to get better. So I said, why not? Why not do something I believe in and give back?
Awesome. I appreciate that. Let's see. Next up, we got Kurt.
Hi, my name is Kurt. I am originally from the Philippines, and I moved here to Vegas when I was 3. Something interesting about me is I'm a huge Lakers fan, which I'm kind of sad that they're doing pretty horrible right now, and they're not even in the playoffs, actually. I chose PTA because growing up, I always liked sports. I played sports growing up. I had some injuries, and I got a job at a physical therapy place in Vegas, and I've been working here for a year, and I love it here. So I'm excited to start the PTA program at Pima.
Awesome. Thank you there, Kurt. I appreciate it. And after Kurt, it looks like Michaela. Let's see if I butcher your name or if I said it right.
No, you said it right. My name is Michaela Griggs, and I'm originally from Las Vegas, born and raised. Something interesting is I like to play board games and stuff with my friends, so D&D, anything like that. And then why I chose to be a PTA is initially I tore my knee in high school and I had to go through a lot of therapy for that, and the PTAs were wonderful. And then I kept injuring myself sadly throughout college and even to now, and they've been a wonderful help, and that's what motivated me to start this program.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've got my colossal red dragon back there in the background, so.
I love it.
All right. So sorry, I didn't mean to click that, Aaron. You can ignore that. I clicked ahead of time. Mallory, you're next up.
Hi, my name is Mallory Mesqua. I'm born in California, but raised in Vegas. Something interesting about me, I'm an identical twin sister. I have an identical twin sister. And then why I chose to become a PTA because I grew up playing soccer my whole life. I really enjoyed sports and I knew I wanted to be in the medical field and I wanted to kind of mix those two together. So I went to UNLV, got my bachelor's in kinesiology, and then now I work for ATI. And there I met the PTA. She got me more involved with, or taught me a little bit more about the career, and I really enjoyed it. So that's why I chose PTA.
Awesome, thank you, Mallory.
Mhm.
Looks like next up is Marion.
You guys hear me?
I can hear you.
So hi everyone, my name is Marion Santos, and I was born in the Philippines. I moved here in Vegas when I was 18. And something interesting about me, I guess, is I have a twin, a fraternal twin brother. I play online games and build Gundams. And on why I chose PTA, I've been so interested with TBI patients that I've worked with before, and I just want to learn more so I can just go back to rehab and help them better.
Awesome, thank you very much, Marion. And now let's see if I get your name right or if I butcher it. Nikita.
Yeah, you said it right. It's Nikita. Hey everybody, my name is Nikita Hawkins. I was born in California, but I've been living here since I was about 9 years old. Something interesting about me is I'm just a big sports fanatic. I play it, watch it. I even like referee football games on the weekends for like the kids and everything. Why I chose to be a PTA is usually, or is like because of my history with playing sports, you know, always doing some type of therapy, you know, because I got like bad knees and stuff. And yeah, I guess after high school, that's just what I decided to do because I wanted to do something in the medical field. So I ended up choosing physical therapy.
Awesome, thank you, that's great. And next up is Oscar, and I swear you look so familiar to me, Oscar. I don't know why, but you're next up.
All right, nice to meet everybody. My name is Oscar, born and raised from Vegas. Something interesting about me, nothing really. I got like, I guess, kind of a sneakerhead. I got like over 75 pairs of shoes. So my closet is like stacked up. Why I chose PTA, I've been a PT tech for the last 7 years. I'm currently at work right now for Concentra. I started here in 2015, right after high school, and kind of fell in love with the whole thing. I had no idea what it was, what PT even meant, anything at all. So like within the first 3 months, I fell in love with it, helping people see patients get better. And I just want to continue and keep helping the world.
Awesome, thank you. Next up is Patrick, you're up.
All right, can everyone hear me? All right, so Patrick Ignacio, I prefer to go by Iggy. Born in Honolulu, Hawaii. Something interesting about me, I actually just recently left the Air Force, served for about 10 years. Why I chose a PT program, I did some volunteering back in Spring Valley Hospital prior to me joining. So I was very interested in what they did, so that's why I'm here.
Awesome, thank you very much, Patrick. And next up, it looks like, I'm assuming it's Ryan or Rianne, one of the two. We'll see which one I get right.
It's Ryan.
Okay, Ryan, close enough.
Yes, Ryan Ortiz. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Then we went to Cali, then we went to Hawaii, then I went to Arizona, and then I moved to Vegas. So I've been a little bit everywhere. I'm not very interesting. I work out and I go to work. I like to camp. I like to be outdoors. I work at Spring Valley Hospital currently on an orthopedic unit, but I've been in healthcare since 2014. I've done social work, which I thought I wanted to get my bachelor's in. I decided against that. And then I was in ER as a tech. And then I started at Spring Valley when I lived here. And PT's always been a passion of mine. So I'm finally following through with it.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you. And now, because I'm not sure what the first name is, it says Shek ID or Shek It, I'm not sure. So we'll go with that and we'll allow her to introduce herself.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's pronounced Shaseed.
Shaseed, okay, thank you.
Yes.
I knew I was going to butcher that.
It's okay. So I'm from here, grew up here. Something interesting about myself. I like to work out, strength trained mostly. I also like to collect vinyl, read every once in a while. And then why I chose PTA, I knew I wanted to be in the PT field. I just wasn't sure in what way. Once I got experience as a tech with ATI, I knew I had to follow through and do the next step, which was PTA. And I knew that from looking at the other PTAs and what they do and just seeing all the patients, getting to know them, seeing how they're progressing it's by far the most fulfilling job I've ever had. So I just know I want to take it a step further and become a PTA.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And looks like next up is Stefan.
So Stefan, but close enough.
Stefan, close. I'm going to butcher everything, I'm telling you.
I know. So my name is Stefan Morrison. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. I moved out here to Vegas around 2017. I got out of the military, did 8 years. I was in the Navy. So what basically made me pursue PTA is I've always had a medical background. Like I joined this military fresh out of high school, which I was a corpsman. So basically a corpsman is, you deal with a lot of just anything medical field in the Navy. So I worked in a lot of different areas like podiatry, mental health, PT, emergency room, like ICU. I worked in a lot of different places. So when I got out, I kind of wanted to see like what was like my actual passion. Like I worked in a lot of different places. And so currently I work at the Veterans Affairs and Emergency Room right now. This is one of the techs. I thought nursing, like to get my RN was like what I wanted to do because it's just like, once you taking care of a lot of people in the field and stuff like that, you got that emergency medicine background. But when I worked in PT, when I was in active duty, it was just something I've always gravitated to, but I kind of like hesitated because I just wanted to see like, is this like my niche, which it always was. And just like everybody else, love sports, once you got that history of sports and just dealing with a lot of geriatrics here, like currently at the VA right now, see a lot of injuries, a lot of, hands-on and stuff like that. So it's just something I just love to always do and just it's the reason why I pursue PTA.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And hopefully the last three save me from butchering names. Next up, we got Tabitha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tabitha Ames. Originally, I'm from Canton, Ohio, and I actually moved here in 2017 with the Air Force. Lots of military here. Something interesting, I'm not sure if this is super interesting or sad, but I'm a huge football fan and the Browns is my team and they make me sad every single year. So I actually chose to become a PTA also because I was a medic. I just retired after 20 years of being a medic in the Air Force and in 2020 actually. And so before I came into the military, I was always injured, of course, very athletic. And I became super fascinated with being a PT. Wasn't really ready at the time to pursue that, went into the Air Force. But as Stefan said, being a medic, a lot of us feel like, okay, let's become a nurse. But truthfully, I found that PT was just my calling. That's where I feel like I can do the most good. And so I figured, being retired now, I really want to follow what my passion is. And so I figured becoming a PTA would be perfect for me for my next journey in life.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And next up, we have Todd.
Hello, I'm originally from San Diego. The interesting thing about me is I love to cook, bake. Is more of my forte. I run the gamut: cookies, cupcakes, the full 9 yards. Cheesecakes are my specialty, FYI. And why I chose PTA is because many moons ago, I thought about becoming a personal trainer, but I just wanted something with a little bit more, I'd say, like substance, and I felt I wanted to pursue my education. So something I was wrestling with, and then this year I decided to pull the trigger, and here I am.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Todd. And last but not least, and unfortunately, Zach has a Z in his name, so he ends up last. Let's go with Zach.
Hey, my name is Zach Fasag. A lot of Filipinos here. My dad's actually Filipino. I'm the first generation here for my family. I was born in California, lived in Vegas now, obviously. I was in the military for 17 years. I was a paratrooper, jumped out of planes, and there you go, I got hurt a lot. Spent a lot of time in physical therapy. I was an EMT as well for one of my deployments, so I've always been around medical. And after I severed my ACL, physical therapy clinics, it really wanted me, really made me want to help people. So I started coaching and helping with my unit. And so that's kind of what made me want to become yes, at first. It was not a lovely experience. So I switched over to Kila.
I'm on mute. There we go. I was like, I'm talking to myself again. Awesome. Thanks for everyone. Yeah, we got a lot of military experience here. And for those of you that either have family in the Philippines or whatever, I am a ninong to 3 little terrors myself. So I've got lovely godchildren that love to torture me. So I get a little bit of where you guys are from. And I'm actually hopefully traveling there next year. So that should be fun. They're going to renew their vows, my best friend and his wife. So I'll probably go along with them because they demanded I do it. So anyway, well, welcome. This gives us a little bit about us. I hope what you guys can see out of that is that there's a variety of experience. I think there we go, my camera unfroze. There's a variety of experience here in this cohort. So that really gives you guys something to lean on, right? You've got some people that have a lot of medical experience in one field or not a lot of medical experience in another field and sports and all that. So that's going to give you a ton of stuff to lean on. And that's fantastic. So let's kind of talk through it. We're going to go through the basics now. We'll start with student manual, dress code, all that kind of boring stuff. But I promise to try to get through it as quick and painless as possible, hopefully. So the student manual obviously is kind of your Bible for what are the do's and don'ts as a student. We will go ahead and provide you guys with a copy of the student manual digitally. I think Dr. Avruskin may have already done that or she's doing that. We have to post it, don't we, yet, Dr. Avruskin, I think.
We do have to post it.
Yes. So we'll get it posted.
We'll post it on the website where you guys will have all your coursework.
Yes. And so the student manual is kind of your guidebook. The course catalog and the policy and procedure manuals are all important guidelines that have to be kind of managed by accredited colleges. For those of you that don't know how our school works, because we are a private institution, we have to answer to accreditors, obviously. And they keep us in line to make sure that we're not just, charging you guys $1 million and you're not getting anything out of it, right? If any of you have gone through the 90s like I did, there were a ton of degree mills out there that were just pay for degrees, and those degrees didn't mean anything, right? So, we have 2 different creditors. We have our ABHES, which is the Accrediting Bureau on Health Education Schools. That's our overall of PEMA. And then we also have CAPD, the accreditation on physical therapy education, that we have to meet all of these guidelines for. So we do have student manuals, course catalog. I believe you should have gotten from your student advisor and stuff like that. And the policy and procedures, all that'll be up there. It's just mainly to make sure that we are servicing you as a student and not necessarily not taking care of you. Once we send that out, the student manual, as well as some other documents, will have to be signed off on saying, yes, I've received them. You guys are all familiar with this. I'm sure if any of you have a phone, you've gotten something that says, oh yeah, I agree to this. And you probably sold your soul to Apple and didn't realize it, but it's in there. All documents that we're preparing for you, I'm getting them digitally prepared so that you don't even have to sign paperwork or anything like that. That was part of what I was working on today. It'll be sent in a digital file. You upload it and you basically just have to click through it that I agree, and it'll provide a digital signature. You'll save it and send it back to us. And then we have a nice digital copy, keeps us away from having paper galore, right? And I'm big on cutting back on paper. Dr. Avruskin's pretty big on cutting back on paper as well. And then again, you don't have to need any special piece of software or paid software for it. As long as you can open Adobe Acrobat, you're fine. Let's talk about dress code briefly. I know that it's in the student manual, and so that's where it's primarily at. Students are expected to follow the dress code policy while on campus, right? That also includes if we're at a function like for the APTA or for the Nevada board, we do want you to be in dress code for those. It presents a very, yes, Dr. Avruskin.
It also includes, let's say you come in at a time when you don't have class, like you come in the morning to use the computer room or something like that. Anytime you're on campus, you need to be in uniform.
Yes.
With your badge showing so that you are identified and they can allow you to be on campus.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this here. Any violation of dress code will result in induction PPS. We'll talk about PPS a little bit later, but it's basically your participation points. It's one of the few times in school you're given 100% right off the bat, right? You're given that grade, and the only thing that can happen off that grade is you can lose it if you don't follow the rules. So during students, you're required to wear your full uniform, or during lectures themselves, you're required to wear your full uniform. The full uniform is going to consist of your polo. It's not going to look like mine. Mine's the instructor polo. Khakis, your ID badge, appropriate shoe wear, everything like that. We'll kind of go through that as we go through here. The ID badge must be visible at all times on you. So it can't be like, I'm bad about this myself. I have a habit of tucking mine into my scrubs because I've worked with kids and they tend to grab a hold of ID badges and attempt to throttle you with it. So I tend to tuck mine in, but it needs to be on display anytime you're on campus. So even if you're just coming in, I got to go print something real quick, I'm going to run to campus. You have to have your ID badge and be in uniform because that's the only way they're going to let you pass the front door. So just be aware of that. One of the things I usually suggest is making sure that even if we're in lab for that day and we tell you lab clothes are okay for today, have your uniform in your car with you. Just in case you have to go do something else on my campus, you have it with you at all times. And we'll talk about some other stuff about lab clothes and stuff like that as we go through it as well. Pants and tops should fit appropriately. That means no, skinny jean type pants where you can't bend over. If the back of your pants are gapping and unfortunately we see down your pants, they need to be adjusted. You maybe have to wear a belt. All of that should fit appropriately. It also means it's not too tight and it's not too loose. Pants should also not drag on the ground. I know I suffer from this. Unfortunately, I have basically T-Rex legs or kind of tiny legs. And so I have to constantly get my pants hemmed no matter what. I could buy the pants that say they're supposed to be a 29 length, 30 length. And for some reason, they still drag on the ground behind me. So I have to get my pants hemmed. I'm not immune to that either. So I have to do it. Even my scrubs, I usually have to take and get them hemmed as well. So make sure they're not dragging on the ground. It just doesn't look professional, right? Polos we provide from campus. What do we order the polos ready?
About pants?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So the khaki pants have to be in the Docker style. You don't have to get the Docker brand, but they need to be Docker style. That means that they are all the way, when you stand up, that the pants go all the way down to touch your shoes, meaning that your ankles do not show. You should not be able to see ankle skin or your socks when you're standing up. They can, they don't have to be straight leg or anything, specific like that, but they can't have cuffs at the bottom. They can't be like crop pants. They cannot be like exercise pants, no elastic at the bottom. They have to be, business style, Docker style khaki pants. School and clinic is not the place to be sexy or fad, fad oriented. And so therefore the pants should not be skin tight and they should not be very loose, because we know that's a style, right? But the clinic has its own professional style and it's business casual style. And so when you choose pants for the classroom, think about, you're going to be wearing them in the clinic for your internships, for your practicums. And so you need to choose pants that are appropriate for a clinic, not something that you would wear out to a club or that you would hang out with your friends in or go on a date in or something like that. Okay. So just, you have to bring out your professional mindset for school and for clinic. This is very different than our personal lives or from any other college campus where you may be trying to be stylish or to fit in with a certain look. All right. So if you have a question about the style we're asking, look up Dockers and you'll see the professional, the business casual style that we're asking for. If you come in with the wrong style pants, we're going to have to ask you to get the right style pants. And so you don't want to spend money twice. So try to get the right style the first time. Okay. All right. That's it for pants.
Yeah. And personally for me, I've worked in clinics multiple times that I've had to wear khaki style pants. And for me, I just go to the outlets and buy them at the outlets because usually it's cheapest at the outlets, to be 100% honest. The only other thing I caveat on to that is no cargo pants as well. So no pockets on the sides.
Right.
I know a lot of the clinics, they use cargo pants and stuff like that. This is just a PEMA rule that they're not supposed to be cargo pants. Hair, something I don't have to worry about. Only natural color hair should be applicable here. Did you want to say something again? Yeah.
I got a chat. It says, are plain colored golf type pants okay? And I don't know what golf type pants are. So I would say
if they're khaki colored, they should be pretty much same as Dockers.
Yeah. So what I would say is Google Dockers pants, look at that style and see if the ones that you're talking about match that. They can't be white, they can't be yellow, they have to be khaki.
Right. And no yoga pants, please.
No yoga pants, no exercise pants.
I just have to say that.
We're very specific. Okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
Oh,
and again, if you have if you have questions about it, feel free to send us an email with the picture. We can always say, yeah, no.
Right. And the belt line cannot be low. The belt line has to be at your waist. So the top of the pants has to be over the hips. So you can't do the sagging style. And it also should not be hip huggers. Those are too low.
Yeah.
When you wear the pants and you squat down into a full squat, the pants should still cover the back of your hips completely. So nothing should show. There should be nothing embarrassing for anyone to see. If your pants are too tight or too loose, that you're going to notice a problem with that. So you need to get the appropriate size that fits you well. Okay.
This is why I appreciate having you here, because I would have probably said something really wrong there. So I appreciate having you. And then I was back on hair. So it has to be natural color hair. No, tie dye, no pink, no bright orange type stuff like that. Stuff that you would see professional. Now I understand, professional norms have been changing for the past 20 years. When I was back in IT, it was blue and black suit, blue or white shirt, blue or black tie, and all hair had to be neat and off the collar. And that was the only dress code you had. I understand things change over time, but we're still presenting ourselves to the public and especially to geriatric patients. And geriatric patients don't still have that bias towards abnormal hairstyles, abnormal clothing styles, stuff like that. So we have to be aware of that. And so hairstyles have to be neat, they have to be clean. Hair has to be clean in appearance, pulled back and worn above the shoulders, especially during lab. You cannot have your hair dangling down into a patient. I'll tell all kinds of fun stories of students I've had that didn't listen to me, that end up having their hair dangling into nasty wounds. So you want, so I see some of the faces, right? So you want to have your hair back and neat off your shoulders. I keep mine neat and off my shoulders all the time. So we're good there. No caps, hats, bandanas are to be worn at any time on campus. So, when you're coming through the door, if you're wearing a hat, it's got to come off. And that's a campus rule. That's just the way it is. Facial hair has to be neat and trimmed, right? You can't look like you're going for a ZZ Top award there. It has to be nice and neat. And, even in the clinic, even with the hair that I have on my face, a lot of times I actually have to end up wearing a bouffant over the bottom of my chin because they don't want my hair getting in wounds, right? So just be aware of that there are reasons for hairstyle rules, right? It's not just because we want everyone to look alike. It's, protection for you and protection for your patient as well, right? So, do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Avruskin?
So if you see my hair is down, you can't wear it. You can't wear it down, touching your shoulders like this on campus. You have to pull it back into a ponytail or a bun. If the ponytail is very long, and when you lean forward, the ponytail comes forward and is dangling, around here, you don't have to wrap it up into a bun. So it doesn't do that. So this is just normal healthcare ways to keep the hair off the patients. So it doesn't, your hairs don't fall into the patient, or that you don't pick up bacteria or viruses and take it home with you.
Take it home with you big time, especially nowadays. Jewelry. This is one that's kind of sometimes is a touch topic, but we're going to hit it really quick. Earrings, only post plain earrings are acceptable. No hoops, dangling earrings. Just be aware that anything that dangles off of you is something a patient that has, traumatic brain injuries or something like that can grab a hold of.
Or pediatrics.
Right? What'd you say?
Or pediatrics.
Or pediatrics, yeah. Kids, you see shiny things, kids are going to grab it and pull it out of your ear, and then you've got a nice hole in your ear that you didn't want. So plain post earrings per ear is acceptable. Gauges are not allowed for students that already have gauges, and I didn't stare through the crowd to see if anyone is, but I don't think anyone in this group has gauges. You have to put an alternative solution in for that, and those are clear spacers. There can't be an open hole in your ear in that gauge. They do make clear spacers to cover it up, or flesh-colored spacers. So it can't just be exposed hole. Again, I've seen multiple kids I've had techs who have had gauges in their ear and seen the kids grab a hold of those gauges, and it's not a fun time. I'm just telling you. So please don't do that. Piercings, visible piercings, dermal implants, or anything like that should be removed or concealed, right? I've seen all kinds of piercings living here in Vegas, all across the face. Those don't belong in healthcare, unfortunately. If you have multiple nose piercings, lip piercings, cheek piercings, I don't know, tooth piercings, who knows what they are nowadays. They have to be covered when you're on campus or removed. And it's easier usually to remove them than it is to somehow cover them up. Necklaces, bracelets, no long chains with or without pendants, or bracelets are permitted. Medical alert bracelets are permitted, obviously. And rings, only a wedding band are allowed, or engagement rings. You shouldn't have a whole gaggle of rings. We're not trying to be the Mandarin here in Marvel Universe. We're just trying to keep you guys safe. And again, one of the things you'll find out is any piece of jewelry you wear becomes a vector for germs. So if you're wearing multiple pieces of jewelry, that just means if you're in the hospital, you're taking more stuff home with you. And you don't want to do that because that can make your family sick. So just be aware of that. Anything to add to jewelry, Dr. A?
No, I mean, the other thing is if you're in a place and they don't have rules and you wear your rings and then you take them off to wash your hands and then they drop down the drain, or you forget them or you lose them, that's another reason too. But the main thing is that it collects germs.
Yeah. Awesome. And then shoes have to be neat and presentable, clean and presentable, athletic shoes, something like that, sneakers. They can be blue, black, or white solid color. Decorative laces and detailing on shoes only in blue, black, or white color. Mainly, the main idea here is neutral colored shoes, right? Nothing, I know one of you was a sneakerhead. I forget which one of you was at this point. I took some notes here, but I was forgetting which one because I may have to ask you because I have no idea about shoes. I'm just kidding. I have like 3 pairs of shoes. I have a pair of boots, I have a pair of sneakers, and I have a pair of flip-flops. That's it. I don't think I have dress shoes right now. But they have to be neat and presentable. They can't be flashy orange, green, purple. I know they're cool and, we're awesome. But again, like Dr. Avruskin said, we're not trying to really show off here in the clinic. We want to try to literally present as little of a obstacle in presentation to patients as we can. Flip-flops, sandals, any open-toed shoes, completely unacceptable. That actually violates OSHA rules. You cannot have open-toed shoes in the clinic, when I say clinic, in our classroom, because we'll be working with patients and you get your toes stepped on, and that's never a fun thing. And I know it seems silly, but I shouldn't have to say it, but socks have to be worn with your shoes. I have to say that means people haven't before, right? It's kind of like coffee is hot. We have to say it because somebody's got coffee and burnt themselves once. It's just kind of the way it is. Nails, fingernails must be clean, neat, and short. Colorless or neutral polish is permitted if not chipped or peeling. If your nails are chipped or peeling, you need to get that stuff cleaned up and taken care of. No artificial nails, period. End of story, end of discussion. your nails do have to be neat and trimmed because we're going to be palpating and massaging patients. And if you have long nails, those are going to dig into a patient. It's not going to be comfortable for the patient. It's also not going to be comfortable for you. And then again, like I said, with the nail polish and stuff, we're going to be doing wound care. And there's always a chance that something that's on you ends up in that wound. And you end up with something with, some sort of poly-stained plastic or something in a wound that can infect the wound. We normally do wear gloves, but it sometimes happens, right? So you got to make sure that everything is nice and neat. No like special imprints on your nails. What else? No implants in your nails, all those fun things that kids are doing nowadays. And I'm getting too old for it at this point. That's it. Makeup, minimal daytime wear makeup. Yes, Dr. Reskin.
So you can see what it says. You're allowed to wear colorless or neutral polish. What does that mean? That colorless means clear. Neutral polish means a color that matches your skin. Okay, so no colors, no blues, no orange, no red, no plain white. Okay, so basically your nails should look natural. And what do we mean by short? It means the nail should not go beyond the tip of the finger.
Exactly. I would love to paint my fingernails black like my soul, but unfortunately it's not allowed in the physical therapy profession. So you just have to be aware of that. Back to makeups, minimal for daytime wear. I try to keep my makeup at a complete minimum when I'm at the school, just so you guys see me all natural. Heavy makeup is definitely, it can be really kind of prohibitive in the clinic setting. Also perfumes or scents. Be aware, you never know what allergies your patient or your classmates might have, right? So if you wear something that's got a heavy scent or heavy perfume, or you're, the person that wakes up and bathes in Axe body spray, it's going to affect everyone around you, right? I've been at a clinic where for years I've used Irish Spring soap, and my patient had an allergy to that specific scent. And I never would have even thought of, it's just soap would cause an allergy type thing, but some patients are just that sensitive. So you have to be aware of this. Unfortunately, we have to protect our patients first, and that's where we're going with this. General hygiene, daily cleanliness, effective deodorants, clean pressed uniforms, and oral hygiene must be practiced at all times, right? Just be aware that patients may be sensitive to odors. This includes smoking. I'm a big picker on this because my office is exactly where the people stand outside and smoke. So it sneaks under my door and drives me nuts all day long for our point. So please just be aware of that. I hate when I have to go downtown and go to the casinos and deal with the smoke down there. I don't know how the people that work down there deal with it. Patients are really sensitive to that as well. So you have to make sure that you're aware of that. And honestly, it may be a good time to stop smoking, but that's just personally my thing. Undergarments, I shouldn't have to say this. Undergarments are expected to be worn. Please don't make me have uncomfortable conversations with you. Okay. And again, because that's in here, that tells you that at some point we've had to have uncomfortable conversations with people. Just don't make me do that, please. Just wear proper undergarments. Tattoos must be concealed at all times.
Can I add something?
Yes, sure.
To the underwear stuff. If you're wearing shorts in lab, you do need to wear underwear underneath the shorts.
Please, yes, thank you.
Yes, please.
I shouldn't have to cover them. Yeah, I see some of you laughing.
We shouldn't have to say that, but it's happened.
Yes, and those are fun conversations again.
No, they're not fun.
I'm using fun sarcastically here.
I know.
Yeah, and also just in case you're not aware, they're called undergarments for a reason, because they're supposed to go under your garments, not showing. Just saying. That's what I'm going to leave it at that for that. Tattoos must be concealed at all times. I try to hide all the ones I have. I have none because I'm terrified of needles, so that'll never happen with me. Again, are the views changing on this? Slowly over time, we have seen some loosening in some clinics of the tattoo rules. But in general, almost every hospital requires you to cover your tattoos if they're exposed. If you got neck tattoos, if you've got arm tattoos, finger tattoos, whatever it is, it does have to be either concealed with concealer or covered. If you have arm sleeves, they make specific sleeves for covering those. Just be aware that, again, we have to work towards the bias of some of our patients, right? Not all of our patients are as progressive as Dr. Avruskin and I are. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kind of old school. So just be aware of that, right? And especially if your tattoo has something that would be inappropriate, it definitely needs to stay covered, right? If there's something that, you wouldn't want your grandma seeing, or maybe you do want your grandma seeing for some reason, I don't know, it needs to be covered up. Just be aware of that.
Yeah, and you can use, if you have tattoos on your arms, you can use white sleeves. If it's on your neck, you can use makeup or a Band-Aid to cover.
I have actually seen some neck sleeves now for tattoo covering as well.
Oh.
They make like little, like
that's
almost
cool too.
baklavas or whatever. I think that's the way they're pronounced, to cover them. So I think we've gotten so many problems with that they're now coming up with a solution for it. Somebody's making $1 million.
The other question that we get, going back to tops, the other question we get sometimes is that the classroom is cold, and so are clinics and hospitals, they're cold. And if you're required to wear a short sleeve shirt, like a polo shirt or a scrub top, then the only thing you can wear underneath, if it's going to show, you can wear anything you want underneath if it's not going to show. But if it's going to show, like it has longer sleeves, is white with no words on it and no designs. So plain white long sleeve shirt underneath. Okay, you can't wear, no other colors are allowed by the dress code. It has to be plain white.
Right. And that also goes to as well, because I was actually just thinking about this right now. If you are somebody that gets cold in class, you are allowed to wear a jacket over yourself, but that jacket has to be a white jacket as well. So with a
no
white
designs on it.
Yeah, white zip up type jacket, hoodie with no designs on it. You will have the option on main campus to get a lab coat if you would like. So that a lot of students just opt to get that and just spend, I think it's like, I want to say they're $15 or something like that. If you know that you're a cold person, and, clinics are cold because we have to keep infection rates down, right? If you're that type of person, it may just benefit you to buy that. Then you don't have to worry about, well, is this the right style and color? And, it's the PIMA approved one already. So we do have those available at main campus as well. And we'll talk about that kind of the first week you guys are there. But again, white, no fancy prints, no, gang designs on the back or whatever.
No like big brand names.
Yeah. A Nike swoosh is fine, and Adidas swoosh is fine, but not like Nike, just do it. Stuff like that would not be appropriate. Also, due to the nature of physical therapy, we're going to be doing stuff where labs are going to be really important. And so lab attire is going to be different than classroom professional attire, right? We typically are going to have you wearing gym type shorts at a modest length, right? So we have to be able to expose certain areas of the body. We have to be able to expose the full knee. We have to be able to get access to your hips. We have to be able to get access, we'll talk about the tops, the shoulders and the back and stuff like that. So be aware you will need to have lab clothes. I always, like I said, when I recommend that if you come in lab clothes, you have your school clothes in your car as well. If you come in school clothes, keep a set of lab clothes in your car as well, because you never know where we might have time for some extra lab time. So it's always a good idea to kind of keep, that was one of the things I did when I was going through school, was I kept almost a wardrobe in the back of my car in case I needed it. And again, I went to a pediatric, what'd you say?
I would bring it in your bag into the classroom, so you don't have to go out to your car.
T-shirts or tank tops maybe need to be removed during demonstrations, lesson content, and stuff like that. Be aware, we're going to talk a little bit about the human body, obviously. And so sometimes you will have to expose parts of your body. Some people are a little uncomfortable with that, but that is part of the profession, right? Typically for men, it's okay to take your top off when we need to get stuff like that. Women, halter tops or bathing suits are really kind of the way to go. That allows access to the back, the shoulders, stuff like that, but also provides appropriate frontal coverage, please. I shouldn't have to say that, but that provides appropriate exposure as well. So, it's got to be that kind of the Goldilocks principle there, not too much, not too little, style idea.
For T-shirts, we do request the same professionalism. We prefer plain color T-shirts with no designs, because students just end up sometimes wearing designs like for a cannabis store or for a gun store, it's things like that. And that's not professional to wear those kind of logos into the classroom or the clinics. So be very careful what's on the T-shirts that you wear into class.
The only gun show you'd be showing us is your biceps. That's it. That's the only gun show you need to show us. Gym type shoes, like we talked about. A watch with secondhand or digital readout is highly recommended. I would say if you can get one at Walmart for $5 before class starts, you're better off. Most of us have a watch, but I'm always amazed at how many people, especially in the younger generation, don't wear watches anymore and rely on their phones for everything, right? I would recommend getting a watch because you're going to be taking pulses, you're going to be taking, rest breaks, and there's not always a clock within viewing range. Now, we do have timers in the classroom you can borrow, but it's always a good idea to have that. The other thing is, if you have a digital watch like I have, please be aware of how to actually turn it into a watch that you can see seconds and timers on. I'm not going to give you instructions on that. Just be aware of that. Fingernails no longer than the finger we talked about, so you don't leave nail marks after palpation, and your hair needs to be secured like we talked about before. There will be days where we tell you today is going to be a lab closed day. And the main reason we tell you that is so that we're not waiting around for everyone to change into lab clothes at the beginning of class, so we can get right into whatever we're working on. Massage therapy day is the big day I always think about for that, because there's 26 of you, there's 4 bathrooms. That takes time if you come in and then you have to go change, right? So we will tell you times, hey, tomorrow's a lab close day, come in your lab clothes. And so that's when you're going to do that. If we do not specify that it is a lab closed day, you are to be in your PMA uniform. Just be aware of that.
The other option sometimes that I do in my class is you should wear lab clothes underneath your uniform.
That would be optional as well, yeah.
Not an issue. Wear some shorts underneath your pants. Wear a tank top underneath your Pima shirt. And there you are, you're ready to go.
Yep, man. Got a T-shirt under mine on purpose because I'm in lab. I don't know, just kidding. During competencies, you guys will have skill competencies and lab skill exams. When you are the clinician, you are expected to be in full uniform. So even if we're in lab and you've been practicing all day and you're ready to do your skill comp, you have to change back into your full uniform unless the instructor specifies otherwise. We do allow for instructor content flexibility, but if you're doing the practical exams for sure, you definitely have to be in your full uniform. If you're a patient, appropriate lab clothing is important for being the patient for whoever is doing their exams. So also, again, we said is during open lab hours, you are expected to kind of have your uniform and your lab attire present when you're there. You can't just come in street clothes, right? This is not the time to come in and, cut off jean shorts and stuff like that. This is a professional program.
Yeah, you should never be on campus in jeans because that's not lab clothes and that's not uniform.
Yeah, occasionally we will have dress down days where we'll say, it's okay to dress down and jeans are appropriate. And again, the only thing I'll say there is the jeans have to be appropriate as well, right? We should not be able to analyze your entire anatomy through your jeans. So just be aware of that. And usually we do those when we're doing fundraisers for something like the American Leukemia Association or something to that effect.
And the reason that they are fundraisers is that you have to pay money to dress down. So
usually $1 or something like that.
Usually $1. It depends. But so if you're going to do that, then you have to go to the front desk and pay the receptionist $1 and get a ticket to show that you paid. Otherwise, you need to be in your school uniform.
Oscar says, can we take flip-flops to walk around in lab? So no, unfortunately, again, it's not our hard rule, Oscar. That's an OSHA rule. Are there going to be times where we have our shoes off? Sure, obviously, there are going to be times where we have our shoes off, right? But OSHA doesn't allow us to have any of that in lab. They come in and nail us. So it's like a $5,000 fine, and I don't want to pay that. So please don't cause us to have that. Some lab expectations to go along with dress code, right? We talked about dress code. There's some expectations you'll need to be covered. You're going into a field where a majority of our day is spent physically touching other people and interacting with patients, right? So you have to be comfortable with the palpation of the human anatomy as well as being palpated by your lab partner. We'll do things such as taking height, weight, body measurements, assessing posture. I joke in third semester is the time that we are out there to completely destroy our self-esteem because we're going to take our height, weight, body, BMI, check how flexible we all are. And Dr. Avruskin shows us all up. So
Thank you for that. I don't know why. Thank you.
Because you and Dr. Sokel just absolutely make me sad when I look at my flexibility. That's just where I'm going with that. But so just be aware, the human body is part of our job. I realize sometimes it can be really uncomfortable to have somebody working with you, but you will have to get over that. You may have to get over some of your hangups about your own body as well. Right? I don't want to expose this or that because of this or that. Unfortunately, that's part of the profession. Right? And patients are the same way. So you got to think about that from their perspective as well. When they come in and you need to work on them, they kind of feel like you guys are going to feel the first time that we're in lab clothes. You're like, oh, this is weird. So by doing this in the lab, it sets you up to be able to understand how your patients are going to experience it as well. If there are concerns during lab practice, though, if something is inappropriate, or we haven't had an issue like that where something was going on inappropriate. If that is, you need to speak to the instructor of content immediately, please. Just get up, go talk to Dr. Avruskin, to go talk to Dr. Soka, to talk to me or Dr. Arata, whoever it is that's doing lab. Just address it immediately. Obviously make sure that if it is somebody that's doing something inappropriate, let them know it's inappropriate. But then don't feel hesitant to come talk to us about those things, please.
Right. All the normal rules of sexual harassment and all that stuff, unwelcome touch, things that we are not teaching in class should not be done.
Right. And that includes also, guys, if you have experience in the clinic doing, I'm going to rail a little bit on text when we're in the clinic, but we'll talk about that later. If you had experience where your PT has let you do certain things, you're like, well, let me show you this really cool, manipulation technique. Those shouldn't be done. You're not a certified instructor on that. So just be aware of that. And you could end up having them do something to somebody else that hurts them.
Yeah, students are not allowed to teach each other anything that we have not taught you in class.
All right. Social media policy. This is my area of coverage, I think is the best way to put it. I've been kind of, ever since a few cohorts ago, this is where I've been kind of hovering on. Many previous cohorts have decided to put a Facebook page together, or had a group that did a Discord server, or whatever other, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever all those different things are out there. They put groups together where you can easily communicate together. Some of us aren't. I get pet peeved when I see the green bubble pop up on my iPhone because somebody's on Android. One of the cohorts, they had one student that didn't have an Apple iPhone, and it turned all their text messages green. And so that kind of annoyed that group. Just be aware that when you're creating those groups, it's a great way to maintain communication and share ideas, but we're not going to monitor that for you, right? That's not something Tima is going to set me up to monitor. I'm not going to join your Facebook group. Please don't think I am, right? But when creating these groups, don't forget that not all students have these groups. I know plenty of people that have abandoned all social media. They're like, nope, I'm washing my hands. Mark Zuck's got enough of my information at this point. Right. And, for most part for mine, I just have a professional one at this point. I don't even have a personal one that you're going to find. So you have to work together to maintain effective communication. Find out, is it going to be an old school phone tree? Is it going to be a text message tree? Is it going to be something online? Right. That being said, there have been issues in the past, and this is why I have to talk about this. Some simple things to think about. Everyone here is an adult. You should act like an adult, I hope, right? Anything you say, type, or do on social media can be tracked and found forever for most times, right? So just be aware of that. What you say on the internet is forever, right? And if you don't want something out there, don't put it out there. I always say anything you wouldn't say to a family member probably doesn't apply, but then you guys don't know my family members. And so that I got to take a step away from that even for myself. Shouldn't be needed said, but don't bully or harass your fellow student, right? Just don't do that. It's not cool, especially on social media. It includes texting or phone calls. If something like that should occur where there is a outside of class bullying or harassment, if it occurs in the classroom, go to that instructor of content. Again, your instructor of content is the person teaching that class, right? They should be your first point of contact. If it occurs outside of class, you're going to go to the program director. Right now, I'm the interim program director, so you come to me and discuss it with me. Be aware that if you're bringing something saying, oh, well, Dr. Avruskin sent me a mean text message last night and I really didn't appreciate it, you're going to be asked to present it, right? I can't do anything if I don't have verifiable proof. And I have to say this because it happened before. So be aware to bring copies of it, or at least talk to me about it. And don't further a bad situation by replying to those issues. If somebody is bullying you and talking down to you, don't come down to their level, right? Usually I always joke that when I was in IT is that you don't ever want to come down to somebody that's stupid's level because they'll beat you with experience, right? Don't stoop down to their level. Just come to us, we'll address it, right? There is a social media policy in your student handbook, but ultimately, if there's any questions about that, come see me. If you guys want to set up a Discord server and maybe some of you aren't aware of what Discord can and can't do, come see me. I can help you at least get it set up. It's a great service and allows you to even do like voice calls and video calls with your whole class if you need to privately. So it's that. How many of you guys in here have used Discord before? Any of you? Yeah, a couple of you. So some of you already know kind of what it's about, right? And the group that used that said it was fantastic because they could do study sessions. Then when they were preparing for their boards, they already had a study group set up that they could just go right to their Discord server and start studying. So there are ways to get around that. Parking. We'll provide you with areas to park your vehicle, and the parking lot is patrolled by our security personnel on campus. If there's a security concern, please bring it immediately to our attention, one of the faculty. Don't attempt to address it. This is Las Vegas. Unfortunately, we do have transient population, right? So they do come around, and there are times where there's been a homeless person sleeping in my parking spot. And you kind of have to, don't address that yourself, right? You're the student, come get one of us. Usually it'll be me that goes out and address it, or I'll get our security to come address it. If your life or your fellow students' lives, though, are in danger, again, knocking on wood, we haven't had an incident about this, please call 911. If it's a matter of life or death, don't just go in and, Mr. McKeever, somebody's being stabbed out in the parking lot. What should I do? Right? That's a different story than there's a guy sleeping in a parking lot. I can handle most of the stuff. There are specific places that are not to be parked in. There are places that are safe to park. And then there are places that are what I call okay to park, but are not recommended. So I have a picture here of our campus coming up. So let me get my little drawing tool up here. Over here is our suite. This is over in the Dino Plaza off of Flamingo. So Flamingo is up here. Pecos is over here. That's where you guys are going to come. And I think all of you have had a tour of the campus, right? Yes. And no. Okay. We'll have to get some of you on the first day, I'm sure. So for first day, if you don't know where the suite is, you can go to main campus. I'll be collecting people for that day as well. So don't feel like if you're lost, don't worry about it. Like, where's the campus at? Just go to main campus. We'll get you. Don't worry. Parking itself, your safest bet, to be 100% honest, is parking on campus. So campus has all these parking spots up front here, parking along the side of the building, and then parking back here. Now, this is an old picture. This lot back here is no longer here. There's a vet trailer there now for veterinary technician. So,
Mr. McKeever, I'm not seeing you pointing anywhere.
Oh, I'm not. Is my color not showing up? How about now?
I mean, I see colors, but I didn't know if you were using a pointer.
I'm using a draw. I'm drawing.
You're drawing?
I'm drawing.
Yeah, I don't see an arrow or anything. Maybe other people are seeing that.
Let me thicken it. How about now? Now, can you see my circles I'm drawing? Okay.
Yes.
So this area here is no longer for parking because there's a trailer there, but anything in the yellow is okay. So in the campus here, down the side of the building, back here is all good. Beside us that would be to the west of the Pima main campus. This building right here is Clark County School District. They will tow your vehicle if you park in their parking lot. No ifs, ands, or buts. They will not warn you. They will not tell our security personnel your car will come out and your car's gone. So just be aware of that. So don't park there. It's pretty easy to tell because, you've got a kind of a lane that goes down through. If you park on this side of the lane, you're okay. If you park over here, you're getting towed. So just be aware of that. On our campus side over in PTA, we have a bunch of spots that are out in the front here by Flamingo and a bunch of spots that are over here by Pecos. Those are safe to park in. Behind the building is what I call the iffy zone. You can park there, but I really wouldn't recommend it because it's behind the building. We can't see what's going on back there. And we've had some cars broken into before back there, right? So just be aware of that. Safest bet is on campus because our campus patrols both our area and main campus on a regular basis. This back here was an empty Outback. It is now a all-you-can-eat buffet. They do still allow us to park behind their building, but again, it's out of sight, out of mind. Probably not a good idea to park. Again, my safest bet to you, and most of our students have now just been parking on main campus and kind of walking over. It's just safer for you guys. In the Dino Plaza, where we are located right next to the campus, there are all kinds, I can change the color here because I printed that in red. So let me do green. There are all kinds of parking spots right here along the front of the building. Do not park in those. The landlord for our building is a little bit tyrannical. He will tell you, don't park in any of the coverage spots either. He will tell you. The only other thing that I will warn you about, if you park on our side on those spots by Flamingo and Pecos, if you back into the spot, he will tell you. Don't, yeah, I see some of the faces. He's really tyrannical about that because he's had parking blocks destroyed by people driving over them by backing in. And so he wants everyone to kind of pull in. I think there are ulterior motives that, but I'm not even discuss that right now. Just be aware of it. Again, that's why it's probably safer just to park on main campus, right? Especially don't park in the covered spots because usually that's for the medical professionals that work in the clinic. And it's also for Dr. Avruskin and I. And I have a big truck. I'll move your vehicle if you're in my spot. I'm just joking. I won't do that. But just be aware of it. There are some safe spaces. And again, I will walk you through that on your first day, kind of going over where it's okay to park and where it's not okay to park. So don't totally freak out if you don't know where everything is. I think Michaela was like, I don't know where it's at. We'll go over that. Don't worry. I'll walk you over there. We'll have security kind of talk you through it as well. Any questions about parking? I know it seems silly, but I just have to kind of cover it. All right. Computer labs. PMI has multiple access and avenues of providing with computer and internet access. We do have Wi-Fi on campus that is provided free of charge to you. I do take tips for maintaining it. I'm just joking. No, I don't. We have free Wi-Fi to all the students. The only thing I'll say is be aware that during any given time, there can be up 100 people on that Wi-Fi. And especially during the middle of the day at 12 to 1 hour, it can get a little slow because there could be, actually 150 counting EMT on our network at one time. But for the most part, it's a sufficient internet access. We also provide you with, I think, 7 computers on our side of the campus. And then main campus has 3 full computer labs that are accessible to you. So if there's something you need to print, if there's something that you need to send to Dr. Avruskin and you don't have internet access at home, the internet access on campus is available to you. So be aware of that. And actually our Wi-Fi access, you can access in the parking lot if you're one of those people that want to kind of sit outside and use your tablet or whatever while you're outside. It does go outside a fair distance if you're one of those people that want to spend out time outside. I'm afraid of that sun thing out there, so I don't do that.
Okay, here's a pop quiz for everyone. Get ready. You're going to type into the chat. Ready? If you go to use the computer lab, what will you wear? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Excellent. Lovely. Good.
Wait, bikinis was the wrong answer? I'm sorry. Yes, your lab clothes or your dress clothes. Thank you, please. Thank you for covering that. Also, no beverage cups, drinks, food, snacks at the computer. I have a sign by the computer that says it makes Mr. McKeever sad when I see food and drink by my computers. I'm kind of responsible for maintaining our computer stuff. And I've had computers that have gotten completely covered with sticky coffee. And yeah, just don't do that to me, please. They're there for your use. If they're broken, then we don't have it, right?
Yeah, we have a special table where you can leave drinks. It's right in the PTA suite. It's very close to everything. But when you sit by the computers or when you go to the computer lab on main campus, don't bring any drinks in with you there either.
Yeah, just be aware of that, please.
Or food.
Again, if there's something, for the most part, I'm not going to become your tech support. Please understand that. But if there's something you're having access problems, or again, we'll talk about this during the first week as well. If maybe Dr. Avruskin requires you to turn something into PDF and you've never done it on PDF, for most of that, I can walk you through doing that. Okay. But you're not going to bring your computer and say, it's not booting, fix for me. I've had students try that before. I'm not doing it. I'm not tech support. I'm Dr. Avruskin's tech support, not you guys. Student lounge. During the first day, I'll take you over and show you where their student lounge is. During the aforementioned campus hours, which I think I said was 7 to 7, on main campus, there is a student lounge back there for you. It's an area designated for students to congregate, study as needed. It's in the back of main campus. There's a variety of snacks and beverage machines back there. I know we're right next door to Terribles, and students have a habit of going to Terribles for their snacks and stuff. But I will say that the vending machines that are on campus are slightly cheaper than Terrible's. So if it's something, you want to pop or something like that, they do have pops or sodas, by the way, for those of you that don't know. If you want something like that, they do have those on main campus for you. As a personal note, and this is not a slight against Terrible's, but I have had my credit card stolen at our Terrible's. So if you do buy stuff from Terrible's, I would suggest using cash. Just as a person, I want to protect you guys. Just be aware here, before I have to answer this 20 times. No, there is no microwave in our suite that you can use. We had that before. It didn't go well because students don't clean up after themselves. So there is no microwave for you guys, not on our suite. I think there might be one in the students' lounge. I'm not quite sure, but not in our area anywhere. So just be aware of that. So
in the student lounge area, they have this, I think they still have this really cool service where they have entire meals there. They have big salads, big sandwiches, and they're really quite healthy and they're pretty affordable.
Right.
And it's the closest, fastest place to get that kind of thing. Not that you need that because you're only going to be on campus for 4 hours a day. So you don't need to have a meal right in the middle of that. And we really don't give you time to get a meal. But if you're desperate before or after, before 1 o'clock or after 5 and you're desperate to get something, that's a really great place to get something.
Yeah, it's better than churros from Terrible's. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and we don't get kickbacks.
Yeah.
At least Mr. McKeever and I don't. But so that's, you can take our word for it.
All right, how many of you guys are aware of the APTA? You guys, any of you heard of that before? A couple of you nodding your heads, right? The APTA, the American Physical Therapy Association, is kind of our professional organization that helps guide our profession through the tumultuous waters of healthcare in the United States, the ever-changing world of healthcare. It's funded entirely by dues and donations of its members. The dues and donations also provide for political action on behalf of us, right? PTAs and PTAs, and provide us with a lobbying arm. For example, just as a quick aside, they just helped repeal the Medicare cap that was limiting us on geriatric patients on receiving reimbursement. All that fighting for that change came from dues and donations. And so if they don't have that, they can't fight for us. It is not required. I know some schools do require you to become APTA members, but it is not required that you join the APTA. Dr. Avruskin's an APTA member. Dr. Sokel's an APTA member. I'm an APTA member. I consider that part of my professional duty to become an APTA member because I help provide for you guys' future, right? They're going to fight for your future and the future of PT. I do recommend it. By joining the APTA as a student, you have access to a wealth of resources, including the research section, which can help you during projects and stuff like that. It also allows you to participate in events. Lately, the Student Special Interest Group has been hosting an event twice a month where they do little mixers and social events where you can go and meet other students from like Carrington and CSN and UNLV. I forgot the name there for a second, UNLV. And what's the other one, Dr. Avruskin? The other PT program. Why am I drawing a blank?
Wait, which ones did you name?
Toro, there we go. I was thinking the bull. I kept thinking bull. I'm like, no, it's not the bull, it's Toro. So they all get together and they have these nice meetings. The membership for students right now is $95. And if you are a member and you maintain your membership through students, even if you're just a member the last year of your student membership, you get a discount for the next 3 years when you become a full PTA. So it does give back. And again, I'm not trying to preach. I'm not going to tell you that you have to spend this, but it is a nice little thing that you get. And not only that, but the one thing I use it for particularly is I've had multiple times where I've got to get continuing education where I come in at 14 credits and you need 15 credits every year for education. And the APTA offers all kinds of free courses for you. So it helps me there too. So there are benefits. So we'll talk more about that when we bring the APTA rep in. Attendance policy. Attendance is important to your success as a student. The more classes you miss, the farther behind you'll fall on your studies and your preparation. Be aware of this fact. Attendance the first day of class is mandatory. If you miss the first day, you give up your seat. So please don't make me do that, right? Show up the first day. It's also required for receiving your financial aid. The policy is pretty simple. Attend and don't miss class. But if you do miss class, there are specific rules you must be made aware of. If you miss 5% of your total class, your instructor of content will be emailing you, as well as probably myself at that time, conducting you and advising you that you're on a verbal warning. That basically is letting you know, hey, you've missed a good bit of class, pay attention. If you miss 10%, I will be sitting down with you, or the program director in the future will be sitting down with you, and you'll be given a written warning. Be aware that once you're on a written warning, any offense from then on can lead you to separation from the program. So maybe, I don't know, you come in and you had a really bad day and you snap off to one of the instructors. That could end up getting you kicked out if you're already on attendance warning. And then if you miss 15% of your class, your financial aid is now in jeopardy, especially if you're part of the VA. And I know a lot of you in here are military status. And if you're on VA loans, they're really kind of stringent about this. The minute you miss 15%, they cut off VA funding. And so you don't want that to happen. We will keep you apprised of your attendance, but you should also keep yourself apprised of it as well, right? So just be aware of it. You're subjected to potential termination at 15%. So just be aware you do need to attend class. But with that being said, we do care about your health, right? I'm not saying this that we don't care about your health, right? And there are certain instances where absences may be excused. Death of immediate family members are an example of an excused absence. That won't count towards that 10 or 5% or 15%. You do have to provide appropriate documentation to the program director. A hospital admission or emergency room admission. Obviously, you can't attend if you have an IV sticking out of your arm. I mean, I've had students try before. No, just kidding. No, never has. With appropriate documentation again. And then COVID signs or symptoms, we'll talk about that in a little bit with appropriate documentation. Any days that you're going to be late, miss a day, you must immediately contact your instructor of content and carbon copy right now myself, in the future, the program director. Failure to contact your instructor of content may result in deduction of professionalism points as well as attendance points. So be aware of that. If you don't contact us, we're worried. And the other thing is, what happens if something did happen to you and your family's calling and expecting you on campus, but something really bad happened to you? That's where we get into a situation that can get kind of scary, right? So just try to keep us apprised of things. The attendance guidelines are for while you're in class and on campus. There are different attendance guidelines at Dr. Avruskin that are very specific to when you're on clinics, and she will talk about those before you guys go on clinical rotations. Yeah, Dr. Avruskin.
Yes, if you miss a class, the instructor of the classes that you miss is not required or obligated or even expected to teach that class to you. So if you miss that class, you can't come to us and say, what did I miss? Teach me what you taught everyone else. We cannot provide that. We have to move on to the next class and on to the next duties that we have. So we cannot provide reteaching of anything that is missed. So you'll need to talk to your classmates and get their class notes and do the reading that's assigned for that class and do your best to catch up. But you should know this in advance that we cannot reteach missed classes. We just simply don't have the time and we don't have the resources to do that. And the school does not expect us to do that because they understand that our schedules are extremely busy. Okay. So that's the unfortunate part of missing classes, that you really can't get the experience of that class in any other form except to be there.
Also be aware, one of the things I try to do for those students that might miss a class, and it's something I've done since COVID, is I do post previous recordings of previous classes. We unfortunately had the whole Zoom thing going on. We're all in the pandemic. So I do have recorded classes that I post. I post those for a reason. Number one, in case you want to go back and review it. Number two is in case you miss a class. So for the most part, for my classes, at least, there's usually a recording you can go back and watch. One of the first things I'm going to push you guys to do is, like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm joking. But truthfully, I have a YouTube channel that I post all of my lectures on if they're recorded. And that can be really beneficial to you if you're like, man, Mr. McKeever talked about Guillain-Barré syndrome, but man, it just didn't stick with me, right? And it gives you some chance to go back and rewatch. It may not be from your cohort, but it is still a similar lecture that you can at least get the basics off of it. But I'm not going to teach it again. It's not happening. Just saying.
Right. And the thing is, we were teaching by Zoom over a year ago. Anything that we added since then will not be in that recording lecture. And so there may be some things that you just, that are not on that recorded lecture. So again, check with your classmates and see if you can borrow someone's notes to see what you wrote down.
and find out who the best note taker is. That's one of the things I did when I first went into my program. I kept an eye on who was taking good notes. And that was the person I became friends with, so that if I missed something, I knew they had notes that I could borrow. Don't expect them to give it to you, but be aware, keep an eye on who's those note takers. I was not that great note taker, I'm going to be honest. All right, with COVID-19 specifically and all the variants that have stemmed from that, if you develop COVID-like symptoms, you should feel comfortable in remaining out of the class. And it extends kind of to flu-like symptoms as well, right? Because most of the symptoms for flu are very similar to COVID. The main idea is you want to keep yourself safe and also keep all of your classmates safe. And I'm going to be selfish here. I want you guys to keep me safe too, please. I'm not the youngest chicken in the world. NASA was a spring chicken. There we go. So to help prevent future spreads. Unfortunately, we've had it in the past where students, didn't isolate when they had COVID-19 and came in, and guess who ended up getting sick? Me. I really didn't appreciate it, but it also knocked out half the class with COVID-like symptoms because they came in sick because they just didn't take into account the rest of their cohort. So you should notify the instructor of content for the day that you have COVID-like symptoms. That doesn't mean coming in and saying, Dr. Avruskin, I'm throwing up. Is this a COVID-like symptom? Contact her via email or call her and say, I'm having COVID-like symptoms, fever, nausea, vomiting, shortness of breath. Pretty much with all the variants, there's so many different symptoms there that you need to be aware of it. And advise the program director. To return to campus, it does require a negative PCR test, and it needs to be provided to the program director. Following a bout of COVID-like symptoms, you are required to wear a mask for at least a week's time over your nose and mouth to help prevent that there's any lingering infection cases. When it comes to a mask policy, I'm going to be honest, I'm not totally keen on our campus's mask policy. I wear a mask at all times.
I do too.
Even though we're supposedly out of the pandemic, I still don't, I'm in contact with too many people on a daily basis, right? And I value my health. So I do wear a mask. You'll never be shamed for wearing a mask. Let's put it that way.
So just to clarify, the mask policy on campuses, it's each person's choice.
Right.
Okay. We don't have social distancing anymore. There's almost no other protections.
Right.
So if you're concerned about getting sick and missing class, or getting or not getting sick and just bringing it home to your family, or to people that you care about, then you would want to wear a mask. And you will see me wearing a mask all the time. I never take it off when I'm around people or indoors because I have no time to be sick. I can't afford it in any way, financially, time-wise, or anything. So I do wear a mask when I'm around other people. This is the only time that you will see my full face because I wear a mask.
Yeah. And again, it's the instructor's choice if they wear masks on campus. So just be aware of that. I've gotten COVID now twice. I had it very, very beginning of COVID, and then I got it from a student, unfortunately. And I will say, for those of you that have not experienced it, it is the worst illness you will experience in your lifetime. I mean, short of like getting ALS or something like that. I'm not going to down talk those people. It knocked me on my butt for at least a month for the first time and almost 2 months for the second time. And now I'm still suffering from lingering side effects for it. And I was vaccinated. So it doesn't mean that you're immune to it, right? I be aware that if you are vaccinated for COVID, you are not totally immune. It's like a knight wearing armor, right? That armor does protect you, but there are still chinks in the armor where some stuff can get through. So be aware of that. That's why I highly recommend you wearing a mask. It protects you. For me, the one thing I liked about this is that I haven't had allergies or the flu in like 2 years now because of this. So I don't know. I like the side effect of wearing a mask at this point. And I've been in Japan before during winter, and they wear masks all the time. So it wasn't anything big for me. And I wear them in the clinic. When I'm doing wound care, I almost have to because some of those wounds are really nasty. So these attendance guidelines, again, are for when you're in class. Clinics will have different guidelines that Dr. Avruskin will go over with you during clinic periods. Dr. Avruskin is the gatekeeper to the clinics. I love her for that. I don't want that job. She can handle it. And she's very good at it. So she will keep you in line for that. But please, if you are sick, do not feel like I'm forcing you to come to campus. Like our society is so crazy about that how many of you have gone to work when you feel like you're dying before? Right? Yeah. Right. I've worked in Denmark for 2 years, and you actually get written up for doing that because they feel that you're coming in and affecting the rest of your coworkers. So be aware of that. We want you guys to be healthy. We want you, but if your cat's got the flu, that's not the same, right? Or your cat's got psychological issues, or your dog's got diarrhea. That's not the same as you being sick, right? We will work with you as much as possible again, but we're not going to reteach the class. But we will work with you as much as possible. There are options that we have out there. And if we come to those situations, we'll talk about those. All right, I mentioned briefly PPS. And PPS is the professionalism points here, professional and performance standards for PIMA. For grading itself, we'll get kind of down to the PPS in a second. For grading itself, there's not a pass-fail system. We actually have a graded system like in normal schools, right? Our grade classifications go 93 to 100 is an A, 92 to 85 is a B, 84 to 77 is a C. Anything below 77 is a fail. So we don't have any Ds. This is not a place where D is for a degree, right? I guess C is for a degree here, but please try to be better than a C student. Anytime I've ever gotten a C, it's made me feel personally attacked because I did so poorly on it. So I'm kind of a perfectionist with that. So that grading system will apply to all of the stuff you do in the program, right? So if you make it through the class and you get a 77.5%, congratulations, you're moving on. If you don't get it and you get below a 77, there's a good chance you may not be moving on in the program. So just do your stuff and you'll get through it. With the PPS, it is a guaranteed and required component of the standards here within PIMA you're grading. It's the only time you're ever given 100 points and don't have to work for it. You're given it right off the bat. Right, it's the first day you come in, you've got 100 points in PPS. From then on, you lose points depending upon if you're unprofessional, you forget lab clothes, you don't show up for class, you're late, whatever it may be, you'll lose points incrementally for it. You'll be notified when we take those points from you. It'll go right into your Blackboard and advise you that we've taken points. I go in and put notes why I'm taking points, just so you're very specific on why I took points from you. I don't want anyone to be ever confused about why I give or take away points. And again, for most grades, I don't give you anything, you earn it. But this is one where you get it and you could lose it, right? If you lose 20 points or more, you can go on a written warning. So be aware of that. And we have had students, this is not a challenge to see how low you can go on PPS. I had a student that thought that was a challenge. Please, that's 10% of your grade in most classes, an easy 10%. That can really help you get an A if you're bordering on an AB standard. So any significant deductions, we'll advise you as faculty. I'll post this PowerPoint as well. This has the PPS points, but it's also in your student handbook, so you really don't have to know too much about it. We grade you on dependability, responsibility, conduct, communication, class prep, and appearance. The dependability is showing up. Responsibility is, are you turning your stuff in on time? Are you notifying us if you're going to be absent? Stuff like that. Conduct, are you acting like an adult? Pretty much just conduct, right? Communications, are you working effectively in groups? Are you not fighting with your group? Are you participating when we do group discussions? Dr. Avruskin and I know both have a very, very similar policy on this. We are never going to force you to answer a question. I'm not the type of instructor. I know there have been instructors in the past that are like, well, Oscar hasn't said anything for 3 days, so I'm going to call him out and ask him a question. He doesn't look like that type of person, but I'm not that type. I was that type of person in school. I don't like to get called out on. So I don't talk a lot. I may talk a lot here and you may think about it, but I'm super introverted here. I know it's hard to believe. So we're not going to force you, but again, you want to be participative in class, right? Don't just sit there like a bump on a log. Are you prepared for class, right? Are you bringing your textbooks and materials to class? Are you completing your homework assignments? And then appearance. Are you adhering to our dress code? Again, for the first infraction, so say you're late one day, you lose 2 points off your PPS. The problem is if you have a second late or a second absence, it's now 4 points for every occurrence after that. So it's really easy to lose points if you're a person that's habitually late. The good news for you guys, your afternoon. So I'm having a real problem if you can't get up by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We need to have a talk. I'm just saying. But don't be late, please. Drug, alcohol, Dr. Avruskin, before I move on from attendance, anything there? Or did I cover it pretty well?
Let me think. I mean, attendance is probably one of the most, PIMA's done research in the past, and the students that are most successful in the program are the ones who are there to learn. And that's why attendance is important. But the other thing is we're trying to instill in people how important it is to show up to clinic as well. Because when you get to the clinical rotation, there are no absences allowed. You can't just not be there for a patient who needs treatment, who's scheduled to be with you to get their treatment. And so that's another reason that we give points for attendance, is because we want you to get in the habit of thinking, my grade depends upon it, my patients depend upon it, my career depends upon it.
All right, drug, alcohol, weapon policy. PIMA Institute has a policy of maintaining a drug and alcohol-free school atmosphere. I just have to kind of recite this, then I'll talk about it. All students and employees are hereby notified that unlawful possession, use, or distribution of drugs and alcohol is prohibited on the institution's premises during school or related school tasks. Premises are defined as all school property, including buildings, building interiors, exteriors, common areas, sidewalks, parking lots, privately owned vehicles parked in the school parking lot, as well as desks, cabinets, storage areas, blah, blah, blah. And all this will apply to both the drugs and the weapon policy. So be aware that I don't think it's ever happened, but you can't be selling drugs on campus, kids. That's all I'm saying, okay? Right? Don't do that. But in our state, we have a unique situation because marijuana is decriminalized here. Be aware, and I'm going to go over this in one of my classes. Decriminalized is different than legal, right? It is still federally illegal to have marijuana. And you actually have, if you guys aren't aware of this, the police that are a part of Metro Police Department are also part of the Department of Homeland Security. They can still arrest you technically for marijuana possession, even in small amounts in Las Vegas, if they really wanted to, because it is still illegal federally. But in the medical field specifically, any use of marijuana is prohibited because it puts the safety of your patients at risk, right? You are not to use marijuana during your tenure in the PTA program, even if you have a medical marijuana card. That is not a get out of jail free card for that, right? And I really want to specify, be careful with even CBD products, because I know that many of them say, well, they have less than 0.00001% of THC, but there's no FDA regulations on that. And I have seen people lose their job over taking just CBD caps or CBD drops because it had too high levels of THC in it, and they lost their job on a random drug test. And you will be subject to random drug tests in this program. So be aware of that. And if we have suspicion where we need to drug test you, that is also a possibility. If you're acting out and, acting abnormally and stuff like that, if Dr. Avruskin ever sees me like hanging from the ceiling, she potentially could have the boss send me for a drug test. Maybe I was just doing chin-ups. I don't know. But be aware of that. Whatever our personal opinions are about marijuana, and I'll talk about the medicinal uses and stuff like that as well of it, it's still not approved in our profession. So just be aware of that. Any medications that may be of a controlled substance variety, you must have a prescription for. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I have ADHD. I'm on ADHD meds. I have to have a prescription for that, because if I get randomly drug tested, does anyone know what that shows up as on a drug screen? Shows up as meth. Yeah, right? And that potentially could make me lose my job. So you have to have those prescriptions on hand. And when they drug screen you, they can tell if you're taking the appropriate medical dosage or abusing your drugs. So just be aware of that. Don't put yourself in danger. It can affect you even getting a license, folks. Just be aware that if you get arrested for drug possession while you're in the program, you may not be able to get licensed. So don't put yourself at risk. And this is Mr. McKeever speaking off the pedestal of that, if you are a marijuana user, that would be a really good time to stop. And just don't do it while you're in the program, even a little bit. Because if you do a little bit, there's a good chance you'll pop positive on a drug test. And I have no flexibility. You pop positive, you're out of the program. That's just the way it is.
And that has happened to multiple students before. And that's it. There's no discussion. There's no explanations. There's no meetings. You're just out of the program.
Yeah. So please don't put me in that situation. Okay, guys, just agree with me on that.
I have 2 points to make.
Yes, go ahead.
You're going to probably see conflicting situations in physical therapy clinics where they might actually use CBD products on the patients. I've heard some PTs who are saying this is the new rage for them. So you may actually even see CBD products in the clinic. Are you able to live with that, that conflict that you yourself cannot use CBD products or use marijuana, but you may be using them on your patients? That's something that that's a maturity thing that you have to be able to live with. Okay, that's almost like nurses who have to give painkillers to their patients, but they know they're not allowed to use them recreationally. Of course, that makes sense. But you're going to be seeing, you see billboards for marijuana, you see TV ads. I mean, it's everywhere that you should be okay with using it. But in healthcare, we don't have that option. We have to keep our minds clear, so we're thinking clearly and we can protect the safety of our patients. Same thing for police, anyone in the transportation industry, they can't use marijuana either. So you have to understand and accept that this is a choice you are making. You can't do both. You can't use marijuana and be in healthcare. And the other point I would make is that, using marijuana quite often has an effect on memory, and it's going to make it much harder to get through school and to learn the things that you're paying money to learn. And so that would be, if you used it, that would be you almost tripping yourself up for no reason and making your life a lot harder. So, and also save your money. Get an APTA membership instead of buying marijuana. I mean, there's just so much better things you can spend your money on. You're gonna have a lot of advertising pressure to start consuming marijuana because it's decriminalized here. And why is that? Because people can make money off of you. But really think about the effect on your career and your own brain cells before you make that decision.
And again, like Dr. Avruskin mentioned, in clinics, some clinics may allow their clinicians to use marijuana. That's, I've seen some clinics that do that and have no problem with it. But again, you have to understand, if you can live with yourself, it does slow your reactions and there's all kinds of other side effects. We'll talk about that in pharmacology because one of my minors is in pharm. Just don't put yourself in that situation. If you have questions about that, you can either stay later today and we can talk, or you can email me privately, whatever works. But I'm more than willing to talk that subject through. This is one of the, almost a passion project for me of late, of kind of talking through this with people. Yeah. Weapons. In
a way, it's like wearing jeans. You're not allowed to wear jeans on campus while you're a student. This is good training for you. It's the same thing. So you can't use marijuana. And it's a good habit to get into later on if you're in a situation where you are allowed to, or where you're pretty sure it's not going to make your patients unsafe, or you don't need to have the best memory or the best thinking, then you can make that decision. But for your time in the program, this is a commitment that you're making by enrolling.
Great. Weapons. This includes firearms, and all weapons are prohibited on campus. This includes in your vehicle. Right. The only people that are allowed to carry weapons are active duty military or police officers that are on duty. I'm a concealed carry weapon permit myself. I cannot even keep my gun in my truck on campus. It has to stay at home. So be aware of that. And honestly, it applies to most of the medical campuses in the area as well. I know I worked for Summerlin and I did a stint with Mountain View for a bit. They have the same policies that the weapon can't be on their campuses at all. So just be aware of that. That includes, and we've had it before in one of the other programs, where a student brought bear mace and accidentally discharged it in the classroom. Right? It's not something you really want to do. First of all, it's kind of embarrassing. Second of all, it's just don't bring weapons in, please. That's all I'm just going to say to that. Don't make me uncomfortable when I have conversations with you. I own weapons. I own guns, probably more than I need. And I've been a registered gun owner for many years, but that doesn't mean I bring all my rifles to campus and walk around with them. I know we have the Second Amendment, but we also have business rights as well. All right, last two things I have to cover with you, and then we'll get to Dr. Avruskin. I'm close to time here, Dr. A. I'm doing good. Expected additional expenses. I bring this up right now because now is the time to start saving. I will cover this in my math class as well for those of you taking my math class. Just be aware, in addition to your tuition, in order to get licensed and stuff like that, you will have about $1,000 worth of out-of-pocket expenses to get licensed. So I just don't want you guys getting into fifth semester like the group we had now. It's like, well, why didn't you tell us about this, Mr. McKeever? I'm like, I talked to you about it in math. I talked to you about it in orientation. There are fees to get licensed, and they don't go away once you're licensed, unfortunately. Dr. Avruskin and I have to pay fees every year to our boards. It just is the way it is. I usually recommend to the students, by the time they're graduated, have about $1,200 put aside in like a savings account. That way you have enough to cover anything you might need to get licensed. And then if there's extra there, huzzah, go to Outback for a night or something like that. I don't know. But you put it aside. One of the things that one of the students recommended that I talk about in the other cohort is he set up a Venmo or one of those online services. And when he got Christmas gifts and birthday gifts from his family, he just had them Venmo cash into that account, and he kept it sitting there so that when he was ready to get licensed, he had money there, right? So there are ways to save this up. You know, we'll talk about this in math class. It works out to be about, $7 a week to put aside while you're in the program. So it's almost one Starbucks nowadays, maybe two. But if you can put that kind of money aside, put $10 away a week, by the time you get to licensing, you won't have to have a ton of money on your credit card. There's no way around this. Your tuition doesn't cover this. I don't know if there's financial aid. I don't deal with any of the financial aid. You have to talk to the financial aid department about that. But there's fees required to become a membership. There's academic testing fees. There's licensure fees. There's fingerprinting fees. There's, you see them all here. I'll go over them more in depth with you so you don't have to memorize them right now, please. There's not a test on this yet. Math class there is, but not in there. All of this comes into play when you are getting licensed. It's just a thing of life when you're getting a license. It is. All the fees are subject to change as well. So tomorrow they could be totally different. Just be aware of that. Yeah, I was going to. Thank you. Just be aware of that. And last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back to Dr. Avruskin, because that way we're kind of done. Transfer credits.
Not totally done.
Not the way we'll take. Well, most of the way. Section. Yeah, most of the time after you were done. So we'll give a break here a couple minutes.
Okay.
Transfer credits. If you are interested in transferring credits in for any of the general education classes, there are requirements set out by the Department of Education for those transfers, and PEMA has specific ones. Transfer courses must be similar in content with similar course objectives. They have to be an equal or greater number of credits. So if I have a 4-credit anatomy class, it has to be a 4-credit anatomy class. If it's anatomy, it has to be human anatomy. There are specific requirements for transfers. Those will have to be communicated to me, preferably, what do we say, Dr. Avruskin? Oh my gosh, I drew a blank. It was a week before class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the week before class, so that I can start working on the paperwork for you. What I need from you, if you want to transfer in stuff, I need your transcripts, which we probably do have, but if it's something that you didn't turn into us, I need that. I need a syllabus or a course description from a course catalog of that program. So if you have something from UNLV, their course catalog is online, right? Syllabus is a little easier for me, but I need something like that. And then I will work with you on getting the course transferred in. Be aware it's not easiest. Some of the classes will require a test out. So for example, anatomy, because anatomy is very specific to PTAs, there will be a test out if you want to transfer in anatomy that you're going to have to show us that you have the understanding of the basic human anatomy before I will let you transfer in an anatomy course, right? We have a test for that.
Why do you guys think that some things require a test out test? Any ideas?
I think they are dying on me, Dr. Avruskin. I think you're right.
or they're too shy. No, the reason is because we don't teach general anatomy. We teach anatomy for the PTA. We teach math for the PTA. We teach terminology for the PTA. If you've only taken a general course and then you don't take this course, you're going to be going into the second semester literally not knowing the language of our profession, and there's no way that you can understand what's going on in class. So even if you have taken the course before, if it doesn't match exactly what we teach, then we would be doing you a huge disservice letting you skip that class.
Yeah, and I just recommend not transferring classes if you can, but I will work with you on that. If you're interested in transferring in classes, after we're done, stay for a few minutes after. I will talk to you guys, those that you're interested in transferring in classes, okay? So just hang around after we're complete on the day. We'll talk about that. I've got all that again. I'll post this PowerPoint for you guys as well. So it is currently just about 4 o'clock. What do you guys think? Do you want to take a 5 or a 10 minute break really quick? Do you need a break? How many of you guys need a break? Anyone need a break in here? Are you okay to keep going on and just get through this? Dr. Reskin, they said they're okay.
Okay.
Let me get out of my PowerPoint and I will give you access here. So give me 1 second, stop share. And I'm gonna pin you so that you are the person, you are now the person, and there you go. All right, it's all you, Dr. A.
Whoops, here we go.
Tabitha, just stick around for a few minutes after I'll talk about that then.
Before we get into clinical stuff, I just want to inform everyone, they may not know, that from here on out, we are required to use we're required to communicate with you using your PIMA email and our PIMA email. So we're not supposed to use your personal emails. So if you don't know your PIMA email yet, you should go into your student account and look that up and send me, if you're trying to email me, send it from your PIMA email, okay? And then the other thing is that this should have been explained in some of your application documentation, but you should be setting aside at least 4 hours every school day to study before or after class. PIMA has found in their research that the students that successfully pass the program devote 4 hours a day to studying, doing homework, looking things up. Okay, so it is not a good idea to not set aside this time. In other words, if you have a job that starts 30 minutes after class, try to make time before class to study, okay? Because we want you to be successful, and you won't be able to memorize everything in class. You'd have to spend some time outside doing the reading, doing homework, and memorizing and trying to understand the concepts. So so you can probably keep a job, but probably not a full-time job, because you also need time to sleep, okay? The other thing that I just need to share with you is that PIMA is very much into community service, and in semester 2, we'll do an entire class community service project, but this will be your choice of what you want to do as a class. So start thinking of ideas that you might like to do now, such you can do things like a food drive or a shoe drive, or even a bottled water drive. If we do something like that, that means that you donate. It's not that you get your neighbors to do it or you get other students in the school to do it. It means you are going to be donating something that you have to buy, whether it's food, shoes, water. That's how you're doing your community services, by giving back some of your resources, buying supplies for people who need it. If you want to do something that doesn't cost you anything, then it's going to cost you time. You can go to a food bank and volunteer a couple of hours. You can go to there's lots of community places that offer, clothing or services, and you can volunteer your time, but it's going to cost you in one way or another, either in a little bit of money or a little bit of time or a little bit of blood. If you want to do a blood drive, students sometimes like to do blood drives. That takes a lot of coordination, because you're going to contact American Red Cross, and then the students have to be there to give out juice or whatever they have the students do. So again, that's you giving back your time. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. One of you may have a really cool pet project or community service that you have worked with before. You might want to introduce your classmates to that, and then everyone does that together. We've done that before. Okay, so clinical education training. So you have your classroom work where you learn concepts, you learn skills, but then you have to go and practice applying them to actual patients with a clinician that is your instructor, so that you have a clinical instructor. The training can be called, we call it practicum in physical therapy or clinical rotation. Other Professions called it field work, externship, internship, or just plain clinicals. So whenever we use one of these words, it means the same thing. It means when you are not on campus, you're in a clinic, you're in a hospital, practicing your skills on real patients with another clinician right by your side, making sure you're doing it the right way. All right, so that's terminology. These are the dates of your practicums. You should write down these dates if you don't already have them. And you need to cancel everything else in your life for these dates. Don't plan weddings during these dates, even on the weekends. Don't plan travel. Don't plan doctor's appointments. You're not going to be excused from clinic to go to doctor's appointments or dentist appointments. Make sure that these are all free and clear. Okay, you could be expected to be at clinic anywhere from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. any day of the week, including Saturdays or Sundays, especially if you're at a hospital. They do a lot of weekend days. I'm giving you this notice now 3 semesters ahead of time. That's 3 times 15 weeks. That's 45 weeks ahead of time, because you need to plan ahead. You need to plan for childcare. You need to plan for after school care. You need to plan for parental care, elder care, pet care, whatever it is, okay? And I don't know your schedule for the clinic because we won't know that until about 3 weeks ahead of time. So you have 45 weeks to plan various, plan A, plan B. What am I going to do if I have to work till 8? What am I going to do if I have to be at work at 6 a.m.? Okay. So you are getting advance notice of this. You were given advance notice of this when you applied. We're trying to help you to plan ahead. In addition, after the first 2, you would have a week off because it's the end of your semester. Don't make plans for that week off. Don't make cruise ship plans or travel plans, I would say, or wedding plans, because students have gotten married during the program. Not to other students, but to whoever they were dating when they came in the program. Because if you get sick during the practicum or injured, let's say you're in a car accident, knock on wood that doesn't happen, or anything else happens, let's say there's a holiday and you miss a day or 2 because of the holiday, you might have to use your in-between week, your vacation week, to complete your hours, or you cannot proceed in the program. Okay, so just giving you advance notice of that. There will be random drug testing before the first clinical. Every clinic and hospital that we send students to requires a drug test. Okay, it's not going to be announced because it's random. Students may not refuse to do it. Well, they can refuse to do it, but if you do that, you are terminating yourself in the program. There are no excuses for not doing it. I don't feel well. I haven't had enough water to drink. I'm taking a certain medication. There's no excuses. You have to do the drug test when you were told to do it. Okay, or that is your decision to leave the program. We already talked about marijuana. Okay, I sent everyone an email weeks ago, a lot of weeks ago, about clinical documentation, and it is due today. Why is it due today? Because as I explained in the video, sometimes we're offered clinical spots within the first week of your program. And if we don't take it, then they give it to another school. And then we could be left with one spot less than we need for the whole class. We cannot give up spots, okay? But in order to hold that spot, I have to give them all the immunization documentation for a student, because they want to know that student is real and really in the program, and that I'm not making a student up, which I guess some schools have done before. So you can see, working back from that, we need all these documents before the first day. Let's see. Also, think about all the work you've done in the past few weeks to get your immunizations together and the physician appointment and all that stuff. What if I gave this to you on your first day and all of a sudden you had 4 hours of homework plus all these clinical documents to get together? That's stress that we can avoid by having you do it before the first day. I see there's a chat. Let me see if I can see it. The clinical documentation, do we send through PIMA email again? I'm assuming you mean if you already sent it to me with your personal email. No, if you already sent it to me for your personal email, hopefully I got it. I'll send an email to everyone I have not gotten anything from, hopefully today or tomorrow. I got about 6 or 7 people emailing me all their documents yesterday, and I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't get through it all. And so if you haven't heard from me, that's why. I'll try to get through it today or tomorrow and let you know if you sent me everything correctly. If you get an email from me saying I haven't received anything, then please do send me everything, particularly using your PIMA email. Thanks for that chat. Okay. COVID-19, how did I get to there? Okay. COVID-19, okay. PIMA PIMA as a school doesn't require COVID-19 vaccination the same way that we require polio, hepatitis B, and all those other ones yet, but we are getting there. We will be requiring it when all of our clinics require it, and about 50% of our clinics require it at this point. If you don't have COVID-19 vaccination yet, you are seriously limiting the variety and choices of clinics that you will have to go to, and you may end up without a clinical placement if what is available to you requires COVID-19. Okay, every place that treats Medicare patients is eventually going to have to require COVID-19 vaccinations of staff and students. And that's pretty much everywhere because no one's allowed to treat people older than what, 65. You can't treat them unless you accept Medicare. You can't accept cash payments. It's illegal. I just actually found this out a couple months ago. I'm correct, Mr. Michaela, right? So every place treats older people because that's a large proportion of who needs treatment. So there really is no way around it. Eventually, you're going to need the COVID-19 vaccination if you want to work with patients. Sorry, that's just the way it's going. If you don't have the COVID-19 vaccination or you haven't sent it to me, I cannot guarantee that you will have a placement for clinicals. Without clinical placement, you can't graduate. So that's the facts. All right, everyone take your phone out. Get your phone. What is this month? March 2023. Put in a reminder to renew your TB test, whichever kind you got, the skin test, the quantiferon, or the x-ray. Put in a reminder to renew your TB test and your physician release because they will expire in a year and you won't be done with the program by then. And then if your CPR expires anytime in the program, put a reminder in your phone too, if you sent it to me already. Also put reminders in your phone or on your calendar to complete any series of immunizations that you haven't completed. If you didn't complete 2-step TB, 3-step hepatitis B, 3-step polio, any of those, you need to complete those before semester 3, so you can go on your clinical rotations. All right, there's 3 things I need you to do as students. Keep your clinical documentation updated. Renew your TB and your physician release before they expire. Okay, complete those immunization series. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, as an enrolled student, you are not allowed to contact any clinical sites in Southern Nevada about clinical placement, even if you have friends that work somewhere, okay? Even if you're familiar with a place, even if you work somewhere, students are not allowed to contact clinics. And I think you can understand why. What if all of you, plus all of UNLV students, plus all of Toro students, plus all of CSN students, were all calling clinics individually to ask for their rotation placements? It would overwhelm these clinics. They would have no time to treat patients. And that's why all of them complained to the APTA, and the APTA made this rule that the only people that can contact clinics now is me, the clinical director at each program. They only want to hear from one person at each program, okay? If students start calling around, I get a phone call saying, hey, your student, John Smith, I'm just using a generic name. Your student, John Smith, called us to talk about clinical placement. You know, they're not allowed to do that, right? And I'll say, of course I know. And I told them that. And they say, well, because they're bugging us so much, we're not going to take any of your students anymore. And that has happened to me. So please don't do that, okay? You will get a choice of clinics. Whatever clinics tell me they're available for your dates, you'll get a choice. And that's what you will have to choose from, okay? So don't call around. It also takes, it makes it easier for you. You don't have to spend time on the phone trying to track down your own placements, okay? That's what I'm hired to do, is to find your placements. Number 3, all questions about clinical practicums come to me. Please do not approach any other faculty. They don't know the answers. And all they're going to say to you is, talk to Dr. Avruskin, okay? So these are the 3 major things that you need to remember for clinical rotations. And usually I know the answer to every question. And if I don't, I research it and I find the answer for you. All right. As I was talking about, your clinical schedule is full-time. It's at least 40 hours a week. Sometimes it's more. 8 to 12 hours a day. That's just the average. Sometimes it's different than that. Sometimes it's 7 hours one day and 13 hours the next day. It's whatever schedule they have for you. Okay. Let's see. Students cannot request specific hours. They cannot request that the schedule be changed for them. If they say you're working 8 to 6, you're working 7:45 to 6. All right. You cannot say, look, I'm supposed to be at my job at 6. Can I leave at 5:30? You absolutely cannot ask for that. And that's something that, again, is something that you are accepting by enrolling in the program. So for the 16 weeks that you have practicums, this is how it works. Okay, you're obligated to do the schedule that they set for you. Okay. As I was saying, there's no absences allowed for practicum at all. So do not make appointments. Don't make wedding plans. You cannot go to a graduation. I've had people say, well, my spouse is graduating from a military academy. And that's just the way it goes. You can't leave patients high and dry to go and do something personal. Okay, that's a commitment that you're making by enrolling in the program. You can't say, oh, my pet, I have to take my pet to the vet. Nope. You can, but you have to do it outside of your assigned clinical hours. Okay. All right. Sometimes there are holidays that happen during the rotation. And sometimes the clinics are closed and sometimes they are open. Like for July 4th, most places stay open because they know that the fireworks don't start until dark, which is 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at that time of year. If PIMA itself is closed for a holiday and it's closed for, I don't know, eight or something federal holidays, we can't force you to go to clinic, but you're not gifted those hours. So if you decide not to go to clinic on July 4th, you still have to do those 8 to 12 hours before the next semester starts. So you have to figure out a makeup day with your clinical instructor, and that will go into your vacation week after the rotation. Okay. So a lot of students choose to do their hours on holidays, and that reflects the profession. When we're treating patients, we don't get to take holidays off unless you arrange that with your supervisor and it's paid time off and all that stuff. But you have to expect it. You're going to be working on holidays. I can't guarantee that your clinic will have makeup hours available. Let's say you're working until July 10th or something. They may already have another student starting on July 11th and they can't keep you past July 10th. And so if you assume that I'm going to take July 4th off and I can just work July 11th, you can't assume that. They may not be able to have you. And if you can't finish your hours, then you cannot proceed in the program. So hopefully you're getting the picture that missing hours is not a good idea. All right, how are clinical rotations assigned? Everyone wants to know how will I know which clinic I'm going to be at? We are lucky enough to have a system where you actually get a choice. And what happens is I call around to every place in Southern Nevada, that includes Pahrump, Mesquite, and Las Vegas, that is willing to take a student for the particular dates that you need to be out there. And then I make a list of the available spots, and then each student gets to choose where they want to go. Who gets to choose first? Well, that's where the random ranking list comes in. I have randomized your class list, and I already have lists up. They're up in Blackboard for you already. You'll see that in medical terminology course. And so this is the first one, is just a random list. And you see that there it's color coded. The top third is blue, the middle third is red, the bottom third is yellow. And then we switch the order of those groups and we reverse it. So anyone who's last on the list, who's last down here? Ivan. He gets to be first on the next rotation. Whoever's first, Kiliani, is going to be last over here on the third one. So we try to make it fair as much as possible. Everyone gets a different ranking for each practicum. Okay, so the first person gets to pick first, the second person gets to pick from what's left, and so on down the list. The last person does not get a choice. They go to the last place that's available. But again, that person who was last on the list gets to go first for another practicum, so they get a really nice variety of choices for that other rotation. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions about that? When I went to school, we weren't allowed to ask for any, we were just told where we were going, and so a staff person decided what was a good variety for us. And I never got anything that I wanted, which didn't stop me from doing what I wanted after I graduated, but I like our system a little better. Okay, I see a chat question, let me see. Okay, I don't have to answer that question. Thanks for the note. All right, next, long distance placements. If anyone wants to do a clinical rotation outside of Nevada or in Northern Nevada, please let me know. I have contracts in a lot of places, or I can make a new one. If there are some clinics near you or hospitals, not near you, but near where you want to be. Let's say you have a place to stay in Nebraska or California and you want to go see family for 7 weeks or stay with family. I can work with you on getting you placed anywhere but Texas and Guam. Can't go to Texas, can't go to Guam. I don't think Puerto Rico is an option either. I think that was one of the 3 places that I can't send to, but anywhere else in the US I can send to. And I have sent people to Portland, Kansas, Florida, Hawaii. I can work on long distance requests for anyone. Just email me and I'll tell you how to do it. Okay. The other reason that sometimes students are sent out of Southern Nevada, more than 100 miles away, is if there are not enough spots in Southern Nevada. And once in a while that happens because we have 4 PT and PTA schools here. And sometimes the clinics are just full if our dates coincide with another school. Rather than hold a couple students back and not let them proceed in the program if they can't get placed, I will then get them placements in close by states, wherever I can get a placement, California, Utah, Arizona, Reno, Nevada. I have had to send to Oregon once when there was just nothing else available. And in that case, the students would be responsible for transport costs and housing costs and food costs when they're not near home. It hasn't happened in a while though, thank goodness. And even during the shutdown, even during the pandemic shutdown, I was able to get placements locally. So it's been a few years since I had to send people out of state, but I just wanted to warn you, it can happen. All right. Has everyone, and please put this in the chat, put yes or no. Tell me if you have watched both these videos, the clinical documentations and the PIMA welcome video. Let's see what everyone has to say. Thank you, Mr. McKeever. Okay, good. I'm glad. Looks like everyone has watched those videos. They'll be available to you for a while, so you can rewatch them if you want to clarify anything. Let's see what else. Okay, Anyone who was not present for the entire presentation today, right now, will need to watch the recording and fill out an attestation form. And it will be due by Monday, 11:59 p.m. So before Tuesday. Or you're going to lose your seat in the program. So we need everyone to be oriented and know what you're getting into. There could be people that after orientation say, wow, this is not anything like what I expected. I don't think this is right for me. I'm going to drop out. And this is a win-win for everyone because you save time and money. And then we can get someone on the wait list in the program. But we need to know that soon. I can't wait until, sooner we can get all that sorted out, the better. All right, so that's why I need the attestation form by Monday. We will send out the link to this orientation recording later today. It's going to need, oh, this is going to be a long one. It's going to take an hour or two to render, and then we have to upload it. So it's going to be later tonight that we send the link out. I'll send it to everyone, whether you attended or not, in case anyone wants to, hear a section again. If you are watching this and you need an attestation form because you were not here for the entire presentation, please email me and I'll send you that attestation form. And by the way, we can tell who was here and how long they were here for, because Zoom gives us that data. So if someone was here for an hour but not for the whole thing, they need to watch the rest and do an attestation form. Okay, let's see. Does anyone have any questions for me about clinical rotations? Obviously, I haven't presented everything because you don't need to know everything right now. You just need to know these basic things. Any questions, you can put it in the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. You can email me later with questions. Did I cover everything? Okay, Mr. McKeever, do you have anything to add?
To clinical stuff or just to finish? Because I've got a couple things to finish, but to the clinical stuff, the only thing I have to add to clinical stuff is that Dr. Avruskin has handled, I don't know where we'd be if actually we didn't have her. Like, it was amazing during the pandemic, the stuff she was able to pull off to get clinical placements for students when, places were shut down. We didn't have to have any student hold back. They all were able to progress through the normal program. It was amazing. And yeah, like she said, if you ask me questions about the clinics trying to get a different answer, I'm just going to be like, I are dumb. Ask Dr. Avruskin, because I legitimately don't know the answers and I'm not even going to try to guess. And even when that happens, most times I say something, then somebody will say, well, this is what Mr. McKeever said, and it wasn't what I said in the first place. So I've just learned not to even do that anymore. I just say, talk to Dr. Avruskin.
Right. And I don't burden the other instructors with all the and the details of the things that I learn about clinics and how things work and the immunizations. I don't update them about that stuff because that's undue burden on them. And so they actually don't know the answers to a lot of the specific questions that students have.
I agree. You can have it. I don't want it. It's no good to me. If we'd like a certain state for clinicals, how quickly do you need that?
Oh, please email me as soon as possible, and I'll explain how we go about that. It's not complex or anything, but as soon as possible, because sometimes it can take a couple months because I have to do an actual legal contract with wherever you want to go, and sometimes that can take a couple months. If they have a legal department, they have to give it to their lawyers or whatever to read through and sign the contract. So
yeah, I agree.
There's another question here. Missing documents that might have not emailed. Did you want us to wait for the follow-up email from you? I'm not quite sure what that means.
They're asking if they're missing some documents, do you want them to wait until you email them telling them what documents are missing, is what they're saying, or just send it to you?
Well, you were only supposed to send me completed packets, so hopefully there were no missing documents. But if you did send me a partial packet and there's things missing, you need to get those as soon as possible and send me the whole packet again, all together. That's very helpful for you to do that. Did that answer the question? I hope it did. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I guess we're ready.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the transferable credits.
I'm going to talk about that. That's
okay.
Yeah, we're not letting you go yet about that. She's talking any credit questions about the clinics is what she's saying.
Yep. Okay.
I'll handle that part of it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. It looks like we're done with questions for clinicals.
Okay. So let me just finish off my little slide and then we'll get to the transfer credits here.
Okay.
So Dr. Avruskin covered, I think, just some general tips for success. Don't miss classes. Don't procrastinate. Right. I realize that the general consensus is if you're a procrastinator, if you're a group, you procrastinate, unite tomorrow, but get it started. Don't procrastinate, right? Learn to prioritize, communicate with us. We are not scary people. I mean, I may be scary.
I'm scary.
Yeah. No, they just think you're scary, but you're not really scary. Trust me, I've worked with you long enough now, right? So communicate with us, design a study plan, right? And get appropriate nutrition and rest. I can't stress how much rest is important to your success. If you're not sleeping, you're not learning. So just kind of do that. This is my information here. My email address is simple. It's kmckeever@pmi.edu. So take a snap picture of this or whatever. And again, I will post the PowerPoint with the lecture. You can also reach me via iMessage just by using that email address as well, or a Google Chat via that email address. It all goes to my phone. I can respond quickly. If you call me, that's my office number. Email's usually best because that way I can kind of keep back and forth and keep record of what I talked to you about. Because, if you say, well, I talked to you about this, I'm like, I don't remember that. At least I have a kind of track of what we talked about. So, but if it's something like you're like, hey, real quick, I need to ask a quick question about this, you can send an iMessage over or a Google Chat, and I'm usually pretty quick about answering. But just let me know who you are, because if I get randoms like, this comes from like 702-555-5555. Hey, I'm just talking about this. And I'm like, who are you? Let me know who you are, because I don't have your phone number saved. Are there any questions? We'll talk about transfer credits in a second. Are there any questions about orientation? And for those of you that are watching this post Zoom meeting, like Dr. Avruskin said, please fill out the attestation and send it to Dr. Avruskin by Monday at 11:59. So before changeover to Tuesday. I can't stress that enough. Is there any questions about orientation before we talk about transfer credits? All right, I'm going to stop the recording then, because we don't need to talk to transfer credits on the recording. And I'm going to stop sharing as well.
You don't want to keep recording for people who have questions about transfers that aren't here?
Well, they can contact me. If you have specific questions about transfers, I'd rather just talk to you individually than trying to get each person's individual that are going to be here about it. That's probably the easier way of going about it. So let me spotlight myself here. Actually, no, because they're going to be talking. So this will conclude the PMI New Student Orientation. Please send Dr. Avruskin the attestation if you are watching it, just for the recording's purpose.
Thank you.